Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our weekly Aaron and Zach's awesome rafting show. Thanks for joining us. We're pretty excited for another big week today. We have Brett Burns going to join us for a little bit and talk about River Festival up in Montana. But before we get started, I just want to remind everybody this is a show we do every week at 12:30 live. Smash the like button, subscribe, all that jazz, and more importantly, engage, comments. Like if we're wrong, tell us. If we're right, tell us. We love having comments, so please be engaged in the show. And this week, we have a lot to do, Aaron and Brett. You're here too. Brett's going to talk about the Big Fork Whitewater Festival. I have some comments about last week's show that I wasn't on that I want to make sure that my voice is heard. I wanted to shake the screen sometimes to be like, I need to say things. So I have some comments for you about last week's show. I have some really cool, videos of some boats swim, people making mistakes and people swimming. I want to go over. I went down a rabbit hole with that stuff, and then I want to finish up with this guide quiz I've been had out there, and kind of have us go through this guide quiz and the questions. What's this already? What did we do wrong already?
No. I think it's you, Zach.
I'm wrong.
They're talking to. Yeah.
What am I wrong about?
Pretty much everything.
Okay,
so.
Got it. That's funny. We're having that discussion before the show started. Interesting. And so we'll finish up with a guide quiz. We're just going to power through and debate some of the finer points of a guide quiz I put together. So with that, Brett, we're going to show your video. This is Brett with Death Angle Whitewater. He lives up in Montana. And Brett, do you help organize the Big Fork Whitewater Festival?
In the past, I have only been a volunteer for the festival, but this year I am actually in charge of helping planning and putting on the raft races this year.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to play some footage, and Brett, if you want to narrate a little bit, and
hold on.
What do you want, Aaron?
What is this Big Fork?
Okay.
What is this?
All right, so this is the Big Fork Whitewater Festival. It takes place in Big Fork, Montana, on the Swan River. The Swan River is kind of an interesting one because it's a big, long, smooth, nothing on it river until you get to this last mile of it here. We call this the Wild Mile. There's a dam right behind me, a pour over dam, and after that it turns into a pretty solid mile of Class 5 whitewater. There's a 98.
You run the dam and then you run the whitewater?
Nope, you put it in below the dam. Yeah. And there's about 98 feet of drop in the 1 mile that you race. And it basically starts from here. There's a couple main features and just a lot of really turbulent water all the way through. There's a lot of kayak races. In other years, it brings people from all around the world to come here because the grand prize is like $2,500. But this year, they're actually dropping it down significantly because they don't want to bring in that international attention, trying to keep the travel to a little bit of a minimum.
$2,500 for winning the raft race?
No, the kayak race.
Oh,
the Rafters get an NRS T-shirt.
I think it's like $500 is the grand prize. So
$500 for the rafters and $2,500 for the kayakers,
which doesn't make sense because there's more rafters. There's 4 of you splitting $500 versus one kayaker gets it all.
Right, exactly.
Let's boot the kayakers.
So so you're on here promoting something that they're going to have a smaller purse for because they don't want to promote it so much. Is that what I'm hearing?
Just this year. We've never talked about the rafting before. We've never tried to sell the rafting before. In fact, it's only been going on for the rafters for about 6 years now, I think, where it's been like a 45-year event for kayakers.
Oh, wow.
So
when is it?
So it's a Memorial Day weekend. Every single year. It's a really great event. The town of Big Fork is just one of the coolest, nicest towns you'll ever see. It's one of the easiest rivers to lap out there. There's a highway just about 200 yards to the left of the screen right now. You can take out, drive up the road, and put back in pretty quickly and easily. The shuttle time is almost nothing. There's a town right there that you can walk into for the event. There's camping right at the riverside. Where you can walk into town very easily. Once you get there and set up camp, you don't have to drive anywhere. You can have all the amenities that you need. There's bathrooms right there at camp. There's bars in town that you can hang out at, get great food at, great shopping for the small town, local, Big Fork scene.
Wow.
And all of it
Aaron,
takes place.
If you let us watch the videos, Aaron, you're going to see all this stuff in the videos.
Well, I really wanted to get the lowdown. Thanks for the lowdown. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Great.
Hey, before we get started, Brett, what does your shirt say? I need a what?
A good paddling.
Okay, cool. I love those shirts.
Yeah.
All right. All right, here we go. We're just gonna show the video, and Brett, if you want to talk about this at all, I may chime in with some things I see too.
Yeah, so this is the upper section. Up here doesn't really have any names as far as the rapids goes. It's just a pretty turbulent section. And also, just so you know, this water level that we're at right now is one of the highest that I've ever been on this river at. It's pretty sketchy, pretty pushy, and you really have a hard time with it.
So is this above the dam, or is
no, this is
the upper part of the?
Yep.
This is the
So
upper
right
part
there
of the
where
mile.
Yep, this is the upper part of the mile. So right here is Big Rock to the right. That's where everybody can
Big
sit
Rock.
and spectate. And this is Big Drop, one of the biggest features in the river. That's about a 9-foot drop right there. And then you immediately go into the staircase, is this next section that we're going into right here, where these gates are set up.
Hey, Brett,
You're running gates at this? What?
So the gates are set up for the kayak races. The first year that I did this race, we did have a giant slalom for the rafts, but the river's just too pushy for most rafters. So,
are you guys actually racing here?
No.
Okay, because back left guy is barely paddling.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot. This is a practice run here, and so
is it a mass start race, or is it a?
Nope. So the first race of the day is a downriver race for time. And then after that, it's a head-to-head race where two rafts put on next to each other. And the first one to pass the bridge at the bottom wins. And then it's just bracketed from there. So
this looks like it'd be a fun mass start race. Have everyone go at the same time. That'd be such chaos.
We're thinking about doing it. The problem is access. It's hard to fit, more than 2 or 3 boats in on the top. You can split the river, so some people are on the right and some people are on the left, but it's kind of difficult.
Like starting position is so key for head to head. If you can't get starting position fair, it's not really fair.
And what we do with that one is we have whoever had the fastest time in the downriver has choice on the upstream or downstream side.
So is this the normal flow for the festival? Is this much water?
This is kind of high. Like I said, I think this is one of the highest times I've ever run it on. And it gets pretty out of control.
Max, this is Max the Pack Rafter. Max the Pack Rafter, I'm already fired up. I mean, yeah, in a creature craft would be fun, I guess. It would just be you have to carry that thing down to the river and back.
Yeah, and it would be a lot of work because you actually have to carry it over a over a spillway. There's a little bridge set up, and carrying a raft over it is sketchy enough on its own. Carrying a creature craft through there would be pretty difficult.
You didn't mention that before when you talked about the great access. That sounds a little nastier. Like, so do very many people take oar rigs on this? And is it hard to get your gear boat down there to row this?
I've seen one. I've only ever seen one on there, and it was a pretty light setup. It was just the frame and the oars, and they had paddlers in the boat with them.
Do catarafters run this very often?
No, I've never seen a catarafter on it.
Brett, my concern while I'm watching this, I'm looking at this thinking, if you flip or somebody swims, they're just gone, right? I just have a safety worry here. And what's interesting to me is one guy is in no shirt and shorts, and one guy's in a dry suit, right? How cold is this water? This to me is like shorts, no shirt guy with the carabiner hanging off his PFD. Hopefully it's a locking carabiner, because if not, he's ready to lock himself into that center line, right? But I'm really worried about no shirt guy, and I'm also worried about a long swim. Can you help me feel better about that?
Yeah, I can't make you feel better about the long swim, because that's definitely a possibility. And it really is an issue with this river. It's definitely a really dangerous river. So the guy on the right is my brother, and he's from Florida. And this is usually the weekend that he shows up into Montana for the year. So he's always, dry suited up until late June. This water is probably almost 70 degrees right now.
The water's 70 degrees?
It's getting close to there. Yeah.
Wait, this is Montana, and there's 70-degree water in May?
Yep. This is the warmest water in Montana at this point of the year.
Wow.
Does it come out of a hot tub? How does it get so warm? There's no way. The air temperature is lower than that.
No, it's pushing 70, 80. So I don't know, 65 degrees right now. This is hands down the warmest water for this time of the year.
Yeah.
When we're running this. So the river upstream of there, like I said, there's nothing going on in it. It is just dead, slow water for probably 40, 50 miles. So each sunny day, it's pretty shallow. All it does is heat up. Think of it as a wide canal system.
Wow.
So that water just heats up as it gets down closer to here, and then finally pushes off. Yeah. I am wearing a dry suit in this video, but you know, if I'm not racing, I'll sometimes take it off for this run just because if it is a nice warm day out, the water's not cold.
You wear a dry suit for racing, but not. Why do you wear the dry suit for racing?
I'm the opposite. I would not wear the dry suit.
I would be like all
overheat.
sweaty and yeah.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll just drop down to like I wear a core warmer.
Yeah, or a wetsuit. I race in a wetsuit sometimes. This is what scares me right here. Look at this. How like you could flip here.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
And
people
this
do.
next hit right here. And that swim is no joke.
No, this is the staircase right here. So it's kind of tough to see, but we do have safety set up here on the right side. I can't even see anybody right now. But we have the Flathead County Search and Rescue down here doing safety.
What are they going to do? Are they going to throw a throw bag or are they going to jump?
They have some throw bags, and I think that's about the best our setup is right now. We have a couple of safety kayakers who run in and around at times too. But basically for this river, you know, if you flip or get out of the boat, if you can't get immediately back to the boat, the deal is swim right. Because on the right side of the river, there's a river trail that runs up right into town. So
I see strainers everywhere on the right.
Down here on this lower section there for sure is kind of on the higher section. And, you know, this is a higher water level where you know, most of the year or most of the runnable time, those strainers aren't an issue. It's just rocks.
Yeah. That doesn't look that fun to swim right there. So, but the bottom, like now here, you get down to the bottom, it's just turned into flat water, huge lake at the bottom. So if you just suck it up for a mile, you're fine.
Yeah, that's essentially all you have to do. I mean, this water level is not something that I would want to suck it up for. But if you can't get out of the water here, yeah, it just turns into Flathead Lake down here.
How much farther do we have to get to do Flathead Lake? Is this it right here?
You'll see it around this corner here. It gets into Big Fork Bay as soon as we get through this next section.
So
typically when a boat flips, somebody's just going to swim to here. That's what's going to happen.
No. So I cut it out. I cut the only flat section out of this. If you go back to a big drop and the staircase there, after the staircase, there is the only dead section in the entire river. It's probably 400 yards of relatively flat water. And that's the kind of collection point. I did.
So you got have a half a mile, and then you have that. And you have like another half mile or so.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. So here's the mass start kayak race that we have.
Oh wow.
And that's Big Drop right there.
That looks pretty fun.
For the most part, the only place that people have issues are Big Drop here or a rapid called Triple Sisters, which is downstream quite a ways. It's 3 really, really big waves in a row. And if you flip, you're going to flip in one of those 2 spots for the most part.
Like
I'm okay with a kayaker swimming here because a kayaker can there's more kayakers around. They can save somebody. But like one raft by itself, that's 3, 4, 5 swimmers. That's a lot of swimmers and hard to recover from.
Yeah. It definitely can be tough. And that's the thing with the head-to-head races too, is that we keep an eye on each other. And if one person does flip in the race is over and we, go into rescue.
Oh, that's a good thing to talk about. Yeah. Nice.
Willie Bum Bum's asking where specifically is this?
We're in Montana. Yeah. We're in Montana's Big Fork.
This is, I guess, northwestern Montana. If you look up Flathead Lake, it's the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi. And it's huge, beautiful. I live at the bottom of it in Polson, Montana. This is, I don't know, half an hour from Kalispell, about an hour and a half north of Missoula, Montana. About an hour away from Glacier National Park, an hour south of Glacier National Park.
And this does look fun. It does also look like a COVID super spreader event. Do you guys have COVID in Montana? What's going on here?
So our numbers here are actually very, very low. Flathead County is down to 150 cases, which is where this event takes place. Lake County, where I live, is down below 50 cases right now. But we are going to have COVID protections in order. Essentially, if you're ever in a congested area, we're going to ask you to wear masks. So in situations like this is the Garden Bar. This is where the award ceremony is. And they have free dinner here on Sunday night after all the events. But basically, anytime you're here, they want you to be wearing a mask. There's another bar kind of across the street that's an outdoor podium area where they have bands and stuff play. And basically the same thing there. If you're going to be in a congested area, the request is for you to wear a mask. Same for the campground. If you're up moving away from your own camp, mask on.
I see the sup. Does anybody sup this?
Yeah,
So there is, people do not sup the whitewater section, but there is another part of the race is a flat water stand-up paddleboard race that takes place in Flathead Lake.
When was this footage shot? Was this from last year's or was it the year before?
This is 2018.
Okay, it's a couple years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
It looks like a cool man.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, last year's was actually completely canceled because of COVID. They wanted to be careful with that. So we're all pretty excited to get back to it this year. This is, I think, the favorite event I've been to, not just because it's in my backyard, but town's right there. You know, you're not 30, 40 miles out into the wilderness.
Wait, Brett Burns, you came to the Northwestern Creeking Comp, and you're saying you're insulting the Northwest by saying this is better than that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to try to assault. You know, I don't want to insult that.
It's that good. It's that good. The Northwest Creek is amazing, and this is even better.
I had a great time. I met a lot of really fun people there, and I had a great time. It's just I wasn't quite, ready for what I went into there. Wasn't expecting to not be able to drive back into town real quick. I wasn't expecting to be out in the middle of nowhere. And that's the thing. Like here, if you do need to go get something, there's a store 2 minutes away. So.
Yeah, it looks nice because it's warm too. Usually the Creek Comp, you're like it's raining and you're huddled under a tent, and here it just looks like t-shirts and shorts and out having a party.
Yep, it is Memorial Day weekend in Montana, so if it's sunny out, it's hot and you're having a good time. And if it's raining, you're cold. You're really cold.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for joining us, Brett. Appreciate it. Nice to learn about the Big Fork Whitewater Festival. I think Aaron's going to book his ticket from Hawaii here pretty soon, so you may see him up there on the sup.
If there was a $2,500 for winning the Raft race, I'd be there. But $500 won't really cover my plane ticket.
The transport,
yeah.
It is a fun time though. If you guys are looking for it, I think it's going to be one of the only whitewater competitions going on this year, isn't it? Are there any of them?
I know. I think everything here has been canceled, so I haven't heard anything about it. We would be doing the Wind River race probably this weekend if it's that time of year. So it's not looking like it.
All right.
Well, cool. Brett, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Brett.
It's nice to chat with you about this. And
yeah,
we're looking forward to seeing you more.
Yeah, you guys have a good day.
Yep, have a good one too. See you.
Well, that's cool. I've seen photos of people at that festival, like on that stage winning awards. It looks fun.
Yeah.
It's just really far away from here.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good question. How do you choose between this and the Locksaw? Because that's Locksaw weekend too.
That's not right. That's not right. And they're not that far away from each other either. If that's like an hour and a half north of Missoula, there's
I think it's do you want to run whitewater or do you want to race? I think that's the choice, right? Do you want to do laps on the section and win some prizes, or do you want to go run the Locksaw at high water and see people flip it? Whatever that rapid is, Locksaw Falls or whatever. Yeah. Well. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to go over some swim footage that I have that I've been looking at, talking about swimming. And, on your last Guys Friday show, there was a few things I thought about. Okay. You guys talked about getting up on the sides versus the end of the boat.
Yeah.
And I tried getting up on the side of a boat the other day in a flip. I couldn't do it. And the question I have is like, you get up on the side, you put this is an NRS. So there weren't drain holes. It was an old NRS. There weren't drain holes at the ends. So there was no option to get up in the end. I was like, this isn't good. Well, I'll do the side thing. And I went to the side, put my fingers up in the drain holes, extended my arms, but there's nothing to grab. So how do you go from extended arms up onto the boat?
You're already up on the boat at that point because the drain holes are on top of the boat.
I couldn't. The boat was at an angle. I couldn't.
It sounds like you were just basically flipping the boat over while doing that. That's probably why you're just so much bigger than Michael and I that you're like literally flipping the boat over as you're trying to pull up on top of it. Versus us, the boat stays pretty flat, and we just like climb up.
It didn't stay flat. I was fully extended, and I was like, "Where do I do now? How do I keep going?" And I just gave. I had how I'm getting up. This boat had a danger line that was loose, and I put my foot in the danger line, the perimeter line. And then put my foot in it and then pushed up off that. That was the only way I could get back in the boat.
Wait, but can't you do it as a SOTAR? How do you do it on a SOTAR on the sides?
I don't. That's the thing is I've never gotten up on the side of a boat before. I always do the ends.
That's
So
much
this is my
slower.
first time trying. Well, it didn't work for me. I'm just telling you. I'll try it some more on some different boats, but it didn't work for me.
I kind of want to see you try. See what you have.
I wish I videoed it. Yeah, I have footage. The GoPro was on, but the boat was upside down when it happened, so I don't have the footage. And then also you guys talked about defensive versus offensive swimming a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that more today because I've been thinking about this a lot. I personally think it's super situational dependent, right? Like on some rivers, you would teach to be defensive. On some rivers, you would teach to be offensive. And some you would say start defensive and then go offensive. Right. So I think it depends on the river. Like on Cherry Creek, if somebody swims to the top of Mushroom, what do you want them to do?
Swim to get out of the river.
You're not going to swim out of the river in Cherry Creek. You're not going to swim to the shore.
Swim to a rock. Yeah, there's rocks there before that next drop. If you saw that first drop at the top before taking that hard right into the cattle chute, there's some rocks you can swim out and get up.
Okay, if you fall out of the cattle chute, what do you want somebody to do?
Ooh,
get their feet up,
swim
defensive.
Swim left.
No way, they'll never make it left.
No, literally, that's what we tell them. We'd say, if you fall at this part, swim right. If you fall at this point, swim left. If you fall at this point, swim back right. But you
don't say defensive. You don't just say get your feet up and ride it out.
You don't. Now that I think about it, no, it was like, okay, hey guys, if you happen to fall out at the bottom of the cattle chute, swim back to the left. If you fall at the final drop before going back to the right.
I mean, I guess they've passed a swim test, so you know they can swim. But I think about a lot of times I'm guiding, like some people just can't make that swim in the middle of a rapid. So I generally want them to go to like fall out, feet up, be defensive. And then when the rapid's over, then aggressively swim to a boat. Or so what I tell them, well, in my safety talk, I say, hey, like guides are like Iron Man. They have an Iron Man mask on and they're looking up your swim records from high school. They're measuring the temperature in the air and they're like analyzing your body size and weight. And they know the moments you can aggressively swim to them. And so when you are comfortable at the bottom of a rapid, look to a guide and a guide will point where to go. And I say, usually it's like, get over here. That's my talk, so go defensive until you're comfortable and then make progress towards something a guide points you towards.
And I agree with that in general. And my comments usually similar to yours is I'll say is if you think you can get out of the river, then get on your stomach and get out of the river. If you think you can get out, then go for it. But if you're not sure what to do, put your feet downstream. That's my general. But I'd say otherwise, if you're not sure what to do, put your feet downstream. If you see a horizon line, like you can go over a drop, put your feet downstream. You're floating towards a big rock, put your feet downstream. If it's super big chaos, you don't know what to do, feet downstream. Otherwise, be on your stomach, swimming to make your life better.
Yeah.
Where do you want to swim? Like Willie Bum Bum says, swim back to your raft, swim to Rock and Mill River, swim to shore, swim to where the guide's pointing.
Yeah. I think this is an important thing to talk about because I think that you can't say you always be defensive and you can't say always be offensive because even though your Cherry Creek clients who did us pass a swim test could swim to shore and Mushroom, which I doubt, like the average raft customer is not going to get, they're just going to be overwhelmed when they fall out.
I'm going to say this. I have seen people swim to shore to places that I didn't even realize you could get to shore on that river.
I've seen it too, but I think also
where they just get on their stomach and they swim and they're like in the eddy and they got out and you're like, whoa, they got out there. Wow. That you're like, ooh, that was nice, dude. And then you look downstream, you're like, oh man, that was really good. They got out there. So, my big concern is I feel like too often as I see people being defensive and passive. And just on that, remember on the Merced, I think we were working that together on the Merced and they flip at Split Rock. And this woman's just laying on her back with her arms up in the air like this, just floating straight downstream in the middle of the current, just hauling butt downstream ahead of all the boats. And you're just like, all right, you're gone.
But I think the important point I want to make just when I was listening to you guys is like, it's not always one answer, right? And it super depends on the river and also your customers somewhat. And so you can't just have one safety talk that says you always are defensive. You always are defensive. You kind of have to know where you're working and say, well, here's what I need you to do based on this situation. And so like on the Rogue, a lot of our guests are older. I'm going to say, hey, get your feet up out in front of you. And at the bottom of the rapid, we'll pick you up. It's pool drop. I don't think, a 65-year-old man is going to make progress towards the boat. and I don't want the boat to run like get him like next to the boat where the boat can run over him on accident. So I'm like, just you have a life jacket on, you just make it through the rapid, we'll get you to the bottom. Whereas something like the Merced, if you fall out, like high water, 8,000 the Merced, if you fall out, I don't want your feet up ever. You're not going to get a foot entrapment. I want you making progress towards something. So I think it's very, very situation dependent.
But as Michael and I discussed, I think what you said there is like, this is a little bit of a tangent, but this assumption that if you're on your stomach, I think on your stomach, you're safer in terms of avoiding foot entrapment than when you're on your back.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But
I don't think,
I don't like on your stomach, on your own back, your feet can drop down, get caught. When you're on your stomach, your feet aren't going to get caught.
But one thing is you're probably safer. I may be safer. I mean, I
think everyone's safer.
You're assuming ninja. No, not everybody can be on their stomach and keep their feet up.
For foot entrapments. I'm just talking about for foot entrapments.
I don't think some people can't. Some people aren't as active as you think. I've been doing some.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying from a foot entrapment perspective, like I think people are probably safer for foot entrapment being on their stomach than being on their back. That's all I'm saying. I'm not like we talk about all those other details. I'm going to agree with you. I'll agree with you. Like, oh, hey, like in general, yeah. You talk about the guy on the road who's out of shape, a little overweight, an older guy. Yeah, in general, but that doesn't prohibit me. And this was my point: is it doesn't prohibit me from the safety doc saying, hey, if you can think you see a spot where you feel like you can swim and get yourself out of the river,
I agree 100%.
And that's my concern is I feel like so many of them are like, just look for the guide and just wait for the guide. And it's like, no, man, like let's encourage them to like, if they think they can do it and it seems like a good spot, like make their life better. Yeah. No, and definitely not the extremes. And that's where I like to avoid the extremes. Like, no, not always on your stomach. And not my big problem is I feel like too many guys say always on your back. And they think whitewater swim position is it, final. That's all you need to teach. And it's like, Yeah.
I'm gonna tell people I like it because your feet can bounce off rocks too. So like I want them, if it's like rocky and messy, it's just like let your butt dang down, get those feet up and use your feet to like cushion off of rocks and move around. Yeah. And I honestly would much rather have somebody swim mushroom from top to bottom than do something that's like could cause a foot entrapment. Like I think you could, if you have a life jacket and a helmet and a wetsuit on, you can swim mushroom top to bottom. You'll probably be fine.
The problem though, Zach, is it's really hard to keep your feet up because you go over a drop and your feet get stuck.
No, I know. You just want to do your best. It's just do your best.
And that's why, but if you go over that drop and you're like swimming sideways and you go over the drop sideways, your feet aren't going to go to the bottom and your foot's not going to get stuck in the bottom of the river.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about foot entrapments on mushroom. I don't think that maybe you can get pinned on the sieve on the right, but like anyway.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had a guy get foot chopped in there once, and then he tore in the middle of mushroom. He disappeared underwater. He was in front of us, goes underwater. We go down around, and he's behind us, and he went underneath. He tore ligaments in his leg. It was a big mess in the middle of mushroom. Right after the big rock, you slam up to it with your left tube, and you go down. You start paddling back across. He fell out right there, and then he got foot trapped for a bit. So. Happened in the middle there. It was terrifying, and he totally jacked up his leg. Yeah.
Aaron, answer this one. You guys talked about it last week, and
I'm gonna say Willie Bum Bum. I think there's the head first has its place, and I think that's something else. We have this attitude like you should always go feet first, and it's like, okay, let's go swim Hermit and Grand Canyon. Huge waves. Swim it feet first, then walk back up and swim it head first, and tell me which way you feel more in control and safer. And I'm going to bet head first feels safer. It's like being in, I refer to the big high volumes like being out in the ocean. When you see ocean waves, you're like, oh, here comes an ocean wave. I'm going to put my feet out in front of me. You go head first, duck under it, and pop up the backside. And I think big features, there's something to be said for that. That head first swimming is like, it's situational. And like in general, if you're always doing something, if you're going to tell them to do one thing and always do it, I would never say go head first downstream. I'd always say if you're going to teach them one thing, the feet downstream first. But I think it has its place. And I think also catching eddies, if you're trying to swim into an eddy, particularly as a guide type or like the river types we have here, you need to blast through those eddy pits. So you need to, head first.
But you're not going to teach a guest that skill. And so I think the thing about swimming is we can't just have one answer for everything. I think it depends on the guests. I think it depends on the river. And so I think what we tell them it's not always swim to shore. It's not always put your feet up. I think we need to understand when and what to tell them. And that could be company policy by river. It doesn't have to be like, but if you go somewhere else, it might be different. I feel like that's how, we should choose what we tell people based on the dangers at hand. And the best way to get that experience, to know how to tell people that, is swim rapids as a guide. Like if you've barely swum rapids as a guide, you don't know, right? Like go swim some rapids and then you'll be like, oh man, that's it. And get into stand-up paddleboarding. Stand-up paddleboarding is a great way to swim a lot of rapids. And you'll start learning a lot about what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, Peter, I'm kind of in agreement. I'm not really saying that's my go-to with guests. I will say not head first downstream, but swimming on our stomachs towards shore is important. To get across those eddy fences, get to shore, get on your stomach, and you're swimming head first, but not head first downstream necessarily.
Yeah. Now, I have no idea what this means, Willie. By the way, I have no idea what this means.
Wash hands.
I think he's making fun of Aaron.
Wash my are my hands dirty, or am I talking all with my hands?
I don't know. Okay, I want to get through this. My other notes I took. I think all those videos from last week, it was just all flood stage. And the takeaway for me was like, when it's flood stage, you want safety kayakers, you want boat spacing, you want safety crafts. That would have changed every situation, right? And
totally,
being on flood stage rivers is dangerous. That's just
and I'm going to say, feet downstream on flood stage rivers and high volume rivers is like doesn't work that well. You're better off getting on your stomach and swimming back to the raft. I feel like that's a big part of it too. Is just,
and this is where, like, if we teach, sorry, I'm gonna interrupt because I think this is important. Yeah. If we always teach defensive swimming, and then you go do a flood stage river, we're in trouble. That's what we have to learn and be adaptable to the situation.
Yeah, totally. One more thing I was gonna say, going back to your point about like it varies by river and outfit and what you're doing. I also think it varies rapid by rapid. Above certain rapids, you'll have a conversation. If you fall in this rapid, this is what you do. Like it's. I think that's really important, just to recognize, like, okay, hey, at this rapid, just put your feet downstream. This other rapid, hey, you fall out, get on your stomach and start swimming left, and just keep swimming left. Doesn't matter, like, because there's a nasty strainer on the bottom right. So, yeah.
Willie Bubba, this is a good point, and this is something I think the IRF standard safety talk is actually pretty good at addressing this, and it's something I'm thinking about a lot lately. So maybe we'll have more on this later. I'm actually working on my IRF presentation, which is different than every presentation. My IRF official safety talk is different than the one I give anywhere else. But I like a lot of what it talks about in there about like self-rescue, and maybe we'll talk about this more later. The other thing, you guys mentioned that private boaters have more problems than commercial in there somewhere. So something about that. And I just want to point out that, like, maybe private boaters have more problems, but that's the nature of private boating. Like, they're learning a lot of times.
I'm not saying, I don't mean it like as a negative that way, Zach. I'm just implied that, like, hey, by the end of the summer, the commercial people have been out there a lot. And so I feel like private boaters are a little more lax about stuff. And I'm saying, hey, if you're a private boater taking your friends out, it's the opposite. You shouldn't be more lax. You should be more diligent, because you're not doing it day in, day out. And it's that much more important to have a good safety talk, because your safety from your team boating is probably not going to be as strong. And all these other variables probably aren't. Now, it may be different, but if you have all those other things in line, you're probably giving a great safety talk as well. So
how do I know? I've been a part of these stories. I know this one well.
What's this?
Like telling somebody to go left, but you meant right. Like, I feel like that's what he's talking about. Like, sometimes swim left, and you meant right. It's like, oh man, that can happen. So that's
why
just
it helps to pull the point where you want them to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are some thoughts. I love watching you guys. It was really fun for me to be in that perspective of, like, the follower and not on the show, to see what it's like to go through that experience. And, like, sometimes you're just like, I want to shake the screen. Like, what do I want to interject my comments. So I wish I could have commented during the show. I watched it afterwards. But it was fun to be a viewer. It was interesting. So thank you guys for doing that without me last week.
It was fun. It was great. It was great having Michael on. It was really nice of him to join.
Yeah.
He did a great job of managing the technology stuff, which I think seems a little stressful. So
it's stressful. It's in the background. You're always like, I got to make sure that things are moving. So thanks for doing that. So these notes are done. And I want to add some videos related to people swimming that I want to show. And the first one, this one's been all over the internet. This was on the North Fork of the Smith last week. And everybody took videos and commented on it. And I think there's some stuff to talk about here in terms of swimming. Aaron, you know this rapid, we've done this together before.
Oh,
this Scout.
So if you haven't got, if you get a chance to run the North Fork of the Smith, don't miss out. It's spectacular.
Yep. That's
look at that waterfall in the shot. Yeah, man, that is. I don't remember that waterfall. I guess I'm usually too focused on the
never
rapid.
paid attention to it. Yeah.
All right.
And don't forget to subscribe to Crazy Bill TV.
You're breaking up here for me, Zach. I don't know if everyone else hears you fine, but I'm having a hard time with you.
All right. Is that better?
No, yeah. Okay. It's just breaking up for me, I think. So what do you want to talk about with this one?
Well, I mean, this to me sketched me out right here. I mean, so flipping is flipping, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. But this is what sketches me out a little bit. And I think the point I want to make is,
whoa, what's that?
I feel like, do you see it? Do you be able to watch? Right?
Why is that guy out of the water like that? He looks like he's standing in the water. Is that just like?
Yeah, exactly. So when we watch this again.
Yeah, I didn't see that first time. I kind of cut between it. Yeah, he looked like he handled that well.
See, I disagree.
Like, what'd you want him to do?
Be away from the boat. Like, so my issue is like, why? Like, he swam. Why is he holding his feet are down most of the time, right? He's standing on a rock. He's basically where he was standing could have been in some sort of a trap. He could have got smashed between the rock and the boat. And this is the debate I keep having. Like, when you're swimming, being attached to the boat is not always a good thing.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, I think I'll say once again, when I give a safety talk, I talk about if you're holding onto that raft, you always got to be looking downstream to see what's coming, because big raft, little U, big rock, that's a bad spot to be. You can get dragged and stuff. Having said that, though, like as a guide, isn't your responsibility to stay with the boat and get on top of that boat?
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going to get on top of the boat in the middle of the rapid.
Why not?
Maybe.
That guy's almost on top of it right now. Look at him.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not going to get on top of it. We both know that's not going to happen. But watch foot entrapment issues. Like if you watch where his feet are down the whole time, he's basically foot entrapped there. His feet are down. It's hard to keep your feet up and be attached to a boat. Right? He's under the boat there. He could have got pinned, like where that boat hit the rock. He could be pinned under the raft right now, theoretically. And so I think, there's plenty of safety afterwards. There's no rush, right, to do anything. And I'm bringing this up, and I could be totally wrong. I want people to tell me that I'm wrong. Like in the middle of a rapid, just grabbing onto the boat is maybe a bad thing because it almost forces your feet to be down.
Yeah, I'm going to say
you can't defensively swim and hold on to the boat.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say on technical low water runs, I'd be much less willing to hold onto the side of the raft when it's upside down.
Yeah, no, if this is high water, definitely hold on.
High water,
definitely hold on.
High water, I'm holding on. Low water, it depends. And I'd be much more inclined to let go of and get away from the boat. Yeah, because you're more likely to just get beat up.
So my instinct is not to grab it. When I flip in somewhere like this, my instinct is to get away from that boat. I've seen enough people pinned and messed up. I don't want anything to do with it. Like I think my instinct to high water is to grab it, but I'm very concerned for my safety when I fall out.
I think if you're particularly as a guide, you know what's coming downstream. So you're, like if you're flipping at the bottom of a rapid, you're at the bottom. Yeah, then you're going to hold on. If you're like whatever, a corner pocket on the Merced or something like that, where it's at the bottom, it's a clean run out. Yeah, I'm going to hold on to the boat and try to stay with the boat. But other places, definitely not. Yeah.
So, I mean, I fully admit I might be hypersensitive here about this. This is what I see as a downside to perimeter lines is that there's times maybe you shouldn't hold on to a boat, and it promotes holding onto a boat more than you should. And again, holding on, it's really hard to get your feet up and hold on to a perimeter line.
No, I agree. Yeah, I can go with that. I mean, I think the perimeter line in my mind is much more important on high water trips than on low water trips. And I'll say I think there's other issues too. Like even if the boat's upright and you have a perimeter line on it, low water, do you really want someone holding on to the outside of the boat even if the boat's upright? Because the same problems happen. They're getting dragged under rocks. A lot of times they'd be better off being farther away from the boat. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like you fall in the rock garden on the Tuolumne, you fall out of the boat and you grab onto the perimeter line, you're holding on, you're just getting hammered.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, a lot of times you see that, or they get slammed up, hit a rock or something like that. So in some ways, I understand why on low volume rivers people don't have perimeter lines. And I'll say, like on my own personal boat, I'd have a perimeter line probably, but commercially, I'd be less likely to want to have one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like I think to Tuolumne to 1,000, I can't think of anywhere where I want myself or a guest holding onto a perimeter line. Using it to actively get on the boat, yes, but just holding on. There's nowhere at 1,000 CFS I want that to happen. At anywhere above like 2,200, I want people on that perimeter line.
Yeah.
So I think there's a time and a place for like just grab the perimeter line and hold on. And I feel like if in that last rapid, if he had just swam and put his feet up, it would have been safer.
Yeah. When you're right and you're holding on, the boat can stop and get jerked. And if you're on, it's scary when you're on the upstream side of the boat because you can't see what's coming. You can't see what's above the boat. And if you're on the downstream side, you're worried about it getting crushed into a rock. So both have their problems.
Yeah. I mean, Halder, I think it's most people's reaction. That's why I bring it up because I feel like I'm going against the grain here. But flattening, it's just hard. Try it. Like go run a rapid and hold on to a boat and try to get your feet up. It's just really hard.
Yeah,
like once
I
you're,
agree.
And I've watched a bunch of other videos of people just holding onto a boat where I'm just cringing because I know their feet are way down there and it's rocky. And it's to me, like the two things we really can't rescue that we don't have good rescue methods for are tree pins and foot entrapments. And so the two things I want to avoid at all costs, I would much rather have somebody swim a big rapid than be near a tree or have a chance at a foot entrapment.
Okay, but Zach, if you're on the downstream side of the raft and you're holding onto the raft facing the raft, you're probably not going to get foot entrapped.
If you're in downstream, if you're
Side of
facing the raft, because your legs are going that way.
Yeah.
But but that takes a lot of.
But as long as your toes can't to foot entrap, you really need your toes downstream.
Yeah.
So if you're first, foot entrapment does not happen.
So if you're facing upstream and the raft's ahead of you, but then my other worry is getting smashed between the raft and a rock you don't see.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, there's the getting crushed by the raft thing that makes me super nervous.
But let's be honest, like I'm nervous about that too. But in general, particularly if it's a paddle boat and there's not much weight in it, there's always a pillow on the rock. I mean, most stuff, very rarely do you go slam into rocks that hard. It's the rocks that are just underwater. The water's flowing over the top, but that's what I'd be more worried about.
Yeah. Even so, like, I mean, again, you're a strong person. You got some muscle. You're buffed out. Like, you could probably get smashed between an empty paddle boat and a rock, but a lot of people can't take that force. It's
if you just go slow a boat down and see how hard they hit rocks. In general, they don't hit rocks very hard. They kind of go up and kiss them and then go down the next one.
No, I'm going to disagree with you. If that guy was able to jump on the boat and he jumped on the rock, that would have been very badass. I would have given him massive props. Still think it's dangerous, but that would have been super badass. I would have given him, I think he major props anyway. That was cool. They're R2ing and they flip. That's super fun. And they're alive, so they get props anyway. But super props if he jumped back in the boat. That would have been cool. And then like the boat to avoid the rock. Yeah, I mean, he could have avoided the rock and not got into the boat by avoiding the boat to begin with. Like if he's just, none of that has to happen. But when you're under a boat in technical water, all bets are off.
But that's one of the reasons I will say I like a perimeter line is in that case is you can grab onto the perimeter line and move yourself around to the side of the boat. So if you're downstream of the raft and you see a rock coming, you're like, oh, I'm downstream of the raft and I'm floating towards a rock and there's no perimeter line. It's hard to get around the side of the boat. But if there's a perimeter line, you can walk yourself around, get to one of the ends and get yourself away from that downstream side of the raft much more easily.
Denise here disagrees with me. I think it's a gray area. I think you can decide based on the flow. Denise just saying, hold on. And I think Denise, I mean, you're an experienced guide, so you have that awareness when you're telling guests.
She says not to hold on to the boat.
The risks of holding on to the boat far. So she's saying I'm right.
Yeah, she's agreeing with you, Zach. You just assume everyone. Zach, assume everyone disagrees with you because so often you're wrong. That now, whenever someone makes a comment, you assume.
Well, I mean, I was reading. I read these comments sometimes. I have a hard time reading them correctly. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Denise. Thank you. Yes, I'm wrong. You're right. Thank you. Yeah.
Zach, you're wrong. I do agree with you.
Yep, I'm wrong.
You managed to turn it around, so they had to disagree with you again.
So this is I found some cool video, and I want to show us for some other swims and things going on. And I just want to say the first thing I noticed about this guy just seems solid to me. He's got a good dry suit on. He's got pins and clips. He seems to have pretty good oar strokes. He obviously, like, I've watched a bunch of Velvet Falls videos this past week trying to find some good videos. This guy's looking back a bunch. Like, he looks back. This, to me, I'm guessing this is just like a California Tuolumne guide type boater. This is just good skills. That PFD is one of my favorites of all time. Anybody who has that PFD is badass in my mind.
I disagree with the PFD. I have that PFD, but I look at that PFD and say, if it's a low volume PFD, he's on a high volume river.
It has flotation. You know that flotation pouch.
It puts it up to 19. The P vest puts it up to 19.
It's more than most PFDs.
And that life jacket is so old.
Hey, Aaron, hold on. You're right. I'm just saying I could just tell this guy's experience because he has a rad setup going. He just looks pretty solid to me. Like, he's heads up.
So Zach, you're basing this upon how he looks, of course, not how he's rowing and what he's doing.
No, he's rowing great too. He's rowing fine. I think his oars are maybe a tidge too far apart, but he's fine. And he's runs pins and clips, so you know he's solid. All right, so we're above Velvet Falls. I think the flow in this one's like 5 or 6. I think it's 6.5 feet or
Where's
something.
The second boat's way too far.
Way back. But
he's trying to slow down. He's trying to slow down too.
There's a flip.
The flip already happened?
The flip already happened. So we're above Velvet Falls and a flip already happened. And I've been here at 6.5 feet where I've seen flipped boats come down from like Hell's Half Mile. There's a place you can flip.
So wasn't it Murph's Hole?
I don't know, because I think he just realized it. So like right there, see, he had his flip line around his waist, which, isn't, technically you're not supposed to wear it under waist by the clean land principle, but he has it and it's available. He just checked the time, I think, which I think is a really interesting thing.
What did he do with his flip line? He took it off?
Let's go back, because I think he gave it to his passenger, who I'm guessing is also a guide. So we'll go back. So he's taking his flip lines around his waist. He's giving it to his passenger, which she also has like a cool person helmet and a PFD, which is too low float for high water, but whatever. So it's almost 7 feet. And then he checks his watch, I think. He checks, or his GPS or something. There's probably some piece of information he wanted. If anybody knows, that's be super interesting. Yep, well, same thing. Yep, life jacket looks old. I have that same blue P vest hanging right to my left right now. I love that vest. His clips are not on backwards, are they? I don't think.
No, they're right. They're on the proper way. You want them on the front, so when you're pulling backwards, you're bending the oar around the pin. I'm gonna go back to big so we can just watch this big. So here comes the flip boat. He was slowing down, and they're now gonna tie their boat to the flip boat, which using the flip line.
Yep. And so he's gonna try to pull that boat to shore, which is a valiant idea, right? Like, let me see if I can get on shore.
Pause for a second here, and I'll say something. That other guy, if you'd really want to be helpful, he could be like helping herd the boat in by rowing upstream and knocking the bottom end in and pushing it over as well. The other rower. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. I know the banks. We're like kind of near bank full. It's gonna be hard to get a boat to
Yeah,
shore here.
exactly.
I mean, I don't know if these guys know the river or not, but I just know they're not gonna do it. I'm like, there's nowhere they're gonna pull it over. What I worry about with that other guy getting closer is the boats now all being grouped and then running into each other, heading into Velvet Falls.
Well, that's
So I'm
true
worried
too.
about too close a boat spacing at this point, which we do actually. I've already watched this, so I know it's going to happen.
Well, that's I'm going to say this too. Like his angle right now, the way he's trying to pull it into, he doesn't have a good angle. He needs to get way more.
It's not going to work.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
We're pretty close,
So,
Peter. We're pretty close to Velvet right now. We're in the entrance above it right now, and there's wood on the shore. There's no eddies here.
He's got to get way more angle, way more angle. Because that other boat's going to track. The other boat's tracking him back across. So you're going to have to get a lot of angle. So the tracking between the two boats isn't. Yeah, this is better. See, he's getting more of an angle, but I get even more. Yeah, he's trying to. He's actually making a good adjustment, pulling hard with that right because it's trying to slow him down. Yeah, see, he just didn't have enough angle. Yeah, he had the right idea too.
Yeah,
and then he lost his angle on the eddy fence. This is like, I mean, this is like expert beginner catching eddies.
Yeah, it's really hard.
But I mean, but Zach, I think it's the basic stuff we talk about. When you catch an eddy, you want to use a downstream angle for hard eddies, right? You don't want to come in like parallel to the eddy fence, and he was too parallel, and it's really hard to get it around you. But you got to.
But it's also hard when you have a boat tied to your front. It's also hard to get yourself 90 degrees.
That's what I mean. You got to
really fight it. You
just have to pull as hard as you can with that right oar and just get it around. Yeah.
Yep. Every time wrong. Nope, wrong. I ran insies outies the other day. It was awful. So anyway,
now insies outies for life.
Oh man, don't get me started.
Yes. I don't agree with you, Willie Bumba, but that was awesome.
If the middle fork is 2.5, 3 feet, spinsies, whatever, maybe insies outies if I want to be cocky. At 6.5 feet, I'm all about pins and clips. I watch a lot of guys row this river at 6, 7 feet, and I watch them whipping strokes when all you want to do is yard, and they're whipping strokes they need to make. And I've seen a lot of the other side, but we could debate this forever, Willie Bum. I just want to go back and Willie, I'm just giving you a hard time. I appreciate your comment here. He runs the left side, the left sneak of Velvet pretty handily.
Yeah, he's definitely a good boater. That's very clear. Yeah.
He ships, and I just want to point. I've been doing a lot of teaching this week, and so I'm so into shipping. And now you just saw the boat run Velvet, right? The boat's way downstream now; it's past Velvet. But he does this beautiful ship on the right here, beautiful right ship. He should have shipped his left.
Yep.
Right.
Well, actually, he spun off it. Actually, that technique worked well.
It worked fine, but
because he was turning back and But
like I'm sorry, I'm like so in geeking out on this stuff
I would have liked to have shipped both too, but I think what he did work well too. He had his plan, which is to come through there and start pulling back with the left to pull back around. Like I think that, so right here, because if he ships both of them, he's going to be bouncing around a bunch.
I mean, he has angular momentum taking him like that's going to take his bow to the left. So he needed to drop his angular momentum. This is just super geeking on this. They go straight through. Right there, he can drop his right oar in the water now, and then he could turn the boat back to the right.
I mean, sort of. He couldn't really open all the way up. He would be kind of pointing at his body.
He would be fine.
He would, and there's that rock that he just passed there. Yeah,
and now he's sideways. He just put a downstream oar in the water. Like it just got out of control. So I
actually like that run. I think that was a great run.
I think it was adequate. Let me give him a 5 out of 10.
That's adequate for you. 5 out of 10. Wow.
7. 5 out of 8. 5 out of 8. What? It opens up around 6.5 ish. You can't get a gear boat down at 6.5, but like a 14, 15 foot paddle boat you can get left. And this is 6.66, so it starts opening in the 6.3, 6.4 around there.
And that other boat's a gear boat, yeah. So it's probably pretty heavy. It's probably cruising downstream. It's catching a lot of current.
Yep. And now he just needs to yard downstream and catch up, right? He's just like, man, I gotta haul it downstream.
Do we know what happened to those swimmers?
No, I'm assuming they're in the third boat. But the other thing that came to mind, that's a good reminder, is once he passed Velvet, let's go back. Let's see, is he like, what if this is what has me worried in general is if that other boat had flipped in Velvet, if either one of these boats flipped in Velvet, they're a mess. This is where like 3 boats at high water to me is marginal because they had a flip boat going into one of the hardest rapids. If either boat flips, their trip's over.
Yeah, but if they had more boats, they're more likely to have a second boat flip at Velvet.
Yeah, but they'd have more theoretically. I think the math works better in their favor. The more boats you have.
So you're saying a 14 boat trip is safer than a 6 boat trip? I'm
saying 2 5-boat pods and a 4-boat pod running separately as a big group is. I'm not going to run 14 boats in a row, but I'll put 5, 5, and 4 as 3 separate pods looking out for each other. Yeah, that's safer. But 3 boats, and these aren't big boats. These are like, this is a little 14, 15-foot boats. You know, these can flip. And they're one right now, they're 1 boat flip away from a pretty big catastrophe, right? They already have a boat going downstream. They probably have the swimmers in that. I mean, the swimmers are definitely on that back boat, right? They're not going to leave the swimmers behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If that back boat flips, that's probably 4 people in the water now. And only this 1 boat to do all the rescuing. Like it's a mess.
I think it's good that they have 3 boats in their group. I think that's like much better than having 2.
What's better than 2? I'm just saying it's marginal, right? Like I that's just my opinion.
So you're saying a 2-boat trip is marginal?
On the middle fork at 6.5 feet, yes.
What about on the wind?
At high water, yeah. Are you saying when Brody and I go just 2 of us, it's not safe?
Yes. No, I'm not saying that. I'm like, are you saying that? Are you saying that that's not safe when you and Brody go on a 2-boat trip?
It's not 100% safe, but we know the river really well, right? We like, I'm not worried about flipping. I'm not going to do it at high water. I'm not going to do it low water. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Peter, the skill level. You don't want a 4th boat who sucks. You don't want a 4th boat who's so if the 4th boat is solid, yes. So it does depend. Like I'd rather have 3 boats than a 4th boat that's another.
Like they could have taken someone out of one of these boats and have them row another boat, but who knows if they have those other people who are riding along have the skills to row another boat. Yeah,
safety kayaker saved the day. Yep.
Yeah,
2 good butters and 1 marginal.
They're not surfing away back upstream.
Yeah. Peter, I 100% agree. It depends on the level of the butters. Yeah, that's a great point. The safety kayaker, Velvet, and point out the other.
What happened to the Raft?
The safety kayaker couldn't have cleaned it above Velvet, but if the second boat had flipped, that's when you need something. That's my worry. I'm fine with how they're handling this is totally great. But my what if another boat flips? Now
they have a safety kayaker right there.
Oh yeah, look at him. But he's in a playboat. That's not. So yeah, so I feel better about it. I feel better about it because he could have gone down and helped save the day if the second boat had flipped. I think trying to keep down many boats to get this flow would be next to impossible. I mean, you can't keep 14 boats together, but I've led many 6-boat trips through here and it works out pretty well.
But I agree with Nick in one way is that it's much easier to keep a 3-boat trip together than a 6-boat trip together. And it becomes a lot hard, a lot more challenging.
It's easier, but it's more challenging.
See, here they are. They're working together to push the boat over. This is what I was kind of talking about.
Yeah. It's Aaron, you're right. It's easier to keep 3 boats together, but that's a skill you develop, keeping your team together. It's easier with the right 6 boats. You're super tight and running well. And for me, that's a high skill thing you want to practice and teach is maintaining boat spacing and order as a 6-person group.
And I think it's really hard if you don't work together and boat together a lot. Like this is something that when I with some of the outfitters I work for, they're like, oh, let's get this guy from this other company. That person's really good driving boats. And I'm like, no, I really want to just stay with my team. Because we've been training together. We've been practicing together. We know what we've talked about how we're running the rapids. I don't really want this guy coming in from the outside and messing up our scene. And sure enough, he messed up our scene. He's a good boater, but he didn't he wasn't on our same track. And even though we talked about stuff and put in, and he didn't do anything wrong, it's just he wasn't doing it the way we had trained to do it.
You guys had like head nods and yedis, like looking up. You ready? Cool. Let's go. You know that person's gonna peel up behind you. You know what's gonna happen. An unknown person who hasn't trained with you, they're not ready. And my point is, when you're running the middle fork at these high flows, you can't just put a rando group of 3 or 4 together. You need people who know each other and work together. You just can't put you have to be solid. So although it's harder to stay together, you need to be able to stay together. Timmy, be surfing for sure. Timmy, you're a great safety kayaker when you're not surfing.
Yeah.
Glorified swim coaches. That's funny. Yeah, but
I kind of agree. Yeah. It is a good point. A lot of places they are. I mean, having said that, there's certain safety kayakers are definitely not all made equal, and there are some unbelievable ones who can do unbelievable things.
Yeah.
But I'd say the majority of them aren't very useful.
But when that second boat flips the 4 people on it, you need a glorified swim coach, right? Because somebody's going to pass this one boat left, and you need that glorified swim coach, right? That's what you need.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of safety kayakers, for that one person that gets ahead of everybody.
I'm going to say this. You know what would have been even smarter in all this situation that we're seeing here is if you have 2 paddlers in the front of your gear boat and give them paddles instead of having them just there. Your boat's going to perform way better. You can catch up to stuff. It's amazing. Even like when we're doing commercial trips, out there on the Selway, I'll bring back extra paddles sometimes in my boat, and I'll let the people up front paddle. And these aren't people who are super fit or anything. It's amazing how much it helps having them paddle. Even these people who are like that's the thing that kills me at high water is give your people paddles and have them be able to paddle some. Why not? It's going to help you.
I agree. You give somebody a paddle on one person with a paddle on an 18-foot gear boat makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They don't think they're like, you're making me do this to feel important. Like, no, I can feel you move the boat a little bit. Do it for sure.
If you get 2 of them, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I'm making the point that even 1 makes a difference.
Yeah.
It does. And people ask, am I really doing something? And the answer is yes. So let's see.
Peter asks, I think it's a gear boat, and so with the gear boat, I think that would be challenging. And then
I want to say something here before I forget, Aaron.
Yeah,
because I'm at the spot when he gave her the flip line. I thought that's what they were going to do.
Me too.
I thought he was going to have her jump on the upside down boat with the flip line and try to flip it back over.
That technique works real well.
Yeah. I think if there's 2 people. I would tell the other boat, I'd be, hey, Johnny, jump on with me. Let's flip this thing. If you have 2 people who have flipped boats and are experienced swimmers and can get back in the boat easily, you can pull this off here. But it has to be a game time decision, and you have to have 2 ballers who can make it happen. Because 1 person can't flip this boat. It's going to take 2. That's my take. I don't think I would do it, though, because I don't want to take that risk. I don't really want to do it. I mean, I'm like, it's risky because you could be in for a lot. You could get beat up, go for a long swim.
Here it's not worth it. There's the pool. I'd say below velvet, I would say yes. I'd be much more comfortable with that below velvet than up here. Yeah, but if it happened in velvet and below velvet, you're like, get on top and just flip it back over. Where you're like, oh, if they don't get it right away, I can come back and help them. But here, it'd be scary.
22-year-old me would be like, this is badass. I'm going to pull this off. Me now, it's like, let the boat go. That sounds exhausting, and I might get hurt. Yeah. Timmy, I mean, I agree. A good safety kayaker can definitely save somebody. Peter agrees. Clutch.
I'm going to say, but what's better than a safety kayaker?
This guy?
No.
You remember that joke?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to say a safety catter.
A safety cataract.
They're different. They're different, Aaron. They're
but
different
on this river, in this situation, a safety cataract would be way better than the safety kayaker. To have downstream and stay downstream in the boat by themselves, you'd be like, oh wait, they could help ferry the boat over the flipped over boat. They can pick up swimmers. They can do all the stuff that a kayaker can do, and they're light and fast.
They cannot do all the stuff a kayaker can do.
On this river, what can a kayaker do on this river that they can't do?
It can go faster. If a swimmer just goes, a safety cat may not be able to catch up with a swimmer.
They can. They're slower than the kayak, but not that much slower.
The key though is it has to be a real safety cat though, and it can't just be like one of my buddies who's a cat boater and they're like frame that has no room for anybody. They need like a 15, 16, 17-foot boat that can go through anything with a platform to pull in swimmers. And so, not everybody owns a Foodaloo safety cat to bring on this river. So you have to have a safety cat designed for safety catting. And so private boaters don't typically have that.
It's true.
It's floating like it
doesn't look that heavy, agreed, Peter, but I'm still guessing that it's
none of these boats are heavy. If he had spinnies, he would have I will tell you though, Willie Bum Bum, I'm guessing the guy who flipped did have spinnies.
Probably he's probably using
this information. Spinnies. I don't know if we'll go to the end of this. Maybe we'll see if the flipped boat, if they get it over. They're just making lunch now. Oh, they're using ropes to pull it. It looks like they're using ropes to pull it over. It's hard to see. But I don't think we get to see if the boat had spinnies.
Yeah, they flipped it over. They flipped it over. There it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's spinnies. We're just gonna say it did. Cool. And I have one more video I want to share. This one's not as long, but I think it's interesting. And I went down a crazy rabbit hole of videos. If you just go to YouTube and search Velvet Falls high water, it gets good. We could do this. We could do this all day. All right. So this one is a real treat.
Oh, the spinnies. Here's some spinnies for you.
Spinnies, and his oars he's doing too much of this up high, so I know his oars are too short.
When you say this, like we don't see you, Zach, so we don't know what you're talking about when you say he's doing
that's right.
This.
He's doing too much of the high up, like his oar position's weird because his oars are too short or whatever.
And he's got a gear cataract, which I'm never a fan of those. I think they handle horribly.
They do fine. See that map right there on his boat? He's about to lose his map. Hopefully the rest of the stuff is tied in pretty well too. So same rapid. For those of you who don't know, this is still about the same flow, maybe a tiny bit lower. Same rapid Velvet Falls.
So there's a couple more comments, Zach, before if we want to hit those last couple comments about the last one. It's a good point. You can get pushed up and use features on the river to slow down the craft. It's a good point.
Oh, so it doesn't get it way ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like push. That's a good idea. It's a really good idea. Yeah. It was good that they were tied onto it for a while because that also slowed it down. Like they held onto it for a while, so it didn't go on forever.
And then
whatever. So this guy is deciding to not take the sneak line on the right and to pull backwards down the right side.
Oh, nice line. Oh, no, not so nice. Oh. What's going on here? Oh.
I think people say there's a line down the right at some flows. You should scout it before you decide to take the Velvet right because it's a very weird flow windows. So now we're back into aggressive swimming, right? His job is to aggressively swim to where, Aaron? The boat or the shore?
One of the two. I'd probably try to, what he's doing is right. Oh, there's a kayak there. The kayak's going to help him. I'd swim to the inside shore and then kind of get sucked on the eddy water until my boat came up and then I'd swim back out to my boat. But I don't know about this boat since I wouldn't be able to flip it over because it's got so much gear on it. But did the kayaker just flip over? Oh, that's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah,
The audio on this one's interesting. I wish I had the audio working so we could listen to it, but he's definitely tired at this point.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Back to the boat. Okay. I don't know what you're going to do with it, though. That's great that you got back to the boat. You're not going to flip it back over. Like, what's your plan? That'd be my questions. What's your plan when you get to the boat? How are you helping things?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Aaron. I realized watching this, I watched it a few times. This is it. It's a cat boater and a kayak.
Oh.
So he has to get back to his cat boat.
Well, I guess he just gets on top of it upside down and just can run. You know what? Actually, it's not a bad idea now that I think about it. That boat's really stable upside down. Just sit on it until it floats into an eddy, and then you can like get out and flip it back over. One thing I will say, Zach, I like to do is I like to rig a paddle on the underside where he is right now on the frame, so you can just get a raft paddle out, and then you can do a little bit of fairing, and you can make some adjustments, and you can take it where you need to go, particularly if you know you can't flip it back over. Oh, it's getting hammered. Oh.
I mean, he's past Velvet. I mean, he has like 4 miles. It's just like this to get it over.
Yeah, the other thing too would be nice is to have like a bow line or a throw bag that if you got close to shore, you could hop out, run up onto shore, and just wrap it around a rock or something.
See his hand right? He's got it right there.
Yeah, but I hope they're not going to give it to the kayaker to like swim to shore.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think this has me so nervous because I just don't think this is responsible at all. One kayak and one raft. When he was holding on the kayak, if that kayaker had swam,
oh, that'd be a mess.
Done. Everything's gone. They're swimming to shore. The guy was getting tired anyway. Like, this to me is scary.
Having said that, I think they're doing a pretty good job with what they got. Like in terms of like making the best decisions for making the decision to go on the river like this, which I think that's the most questionable. Yep. Now, once they're in this situation, I think they've done the best they could. Like, look at it.
Yeah. Kayaker guy's super competent. Kayaker guy's like helped save him and was able to help push the boat to shore even. Kayaker guy is really good. Although I don't know what kayak that is. That's a unique kayak design.
Yeah, maybe Timmy can step in and tell us what type of kayak he's paddling.
But the real part that I want to point out here is this part. This is the safety kayaker part. He gets on the safety kayak. And now, so here, this is where I would not be holding on to just the end of the boat. Like he's just holding on to the grab line. I think he needs to get his body up and grab something on the deck. So he's not just being dragged behind the boat. He needs to get up on the back of that boat. Because
if that's what the kayaker wants, I don't want that.
They should have communicated beforehand because that's what leads to this. Right? Like he's basically just like towing somebody. And hopefully there was some sort of discussion. If you swim, here's how I'm going to help you. And I think in general, it helps to get your body back up on the boat and then you can kick. Here, he's just helping turn it over. Like he's just basically fodder. And as soon as this kayaker hits this weird line, it's really hard to stay up, right, when you have somebody on the back of your boat like that.
So, Zach, if he were on the back the other way, you think he'd be more likely to stay upright?
Yeah, I think it's more balanced. It's just my experience. When we're just dragging somebody and you get twirly, like they kind of mess with you. They help. Or if you're up on the back a little bit, you're kind of working together more.
You know what would be better than that? A safety kayak, a safety cat.
No, I mean two. You mean two boats? I mean two rafts here is better than a raft and kayak. Yeah, maybe not, Mark. I have actually learned in classes to actually grab the cockpit, like reach over the skirt and grab the back of the cockpit, which worries me because somebody might pull the skirt off accidentally. But I think it's a good technique for just holding onto the back really well.
Yeah.
Throw back on the waist.
We're getting I think that's when we're talking about the bow line, getting the bow line and done. Yeah, the waist throw back is like perception.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
But this moment right here, if this kayaker, this is the thing for me, if this kayaker doesn't recover from this, their trip's over. And they're both maybe going for a long swim.
Well, and I think this is an important thing to discuss too, is like people assume having a kayaker along is going to make them safer. How many kayakers practice paddling with people holding onto the back of their boat? How many people have trained to do that? And I think that's a whole nother thing. Like if you're going with the kayaker, like, oh, I'll be your safety kayaker. Like, so hey man, have you practiced towing people? How do you like ask a few questions and get to know to make sure that they've got a plan and they know what they're doing with it? Because I feel like most kayakers don't practice it. They don't, they might practice. They practice pushing their buddy's boat to shore, but that's about it. But they're not like,
I think that's where that discussion, that safety kayak discussion. My guess, by the way, on this kayak is it's some sort of old Piranha, because it's not it's newer than
it does look like. It does look like an old Piranha. Yeah, it's got the nose cap on it.
That nose cap, yeah. Those grab handles, like some sort of prototype, but. It's such an interesting boat. And so this kayaker ran Velvet solo ahead of him. That's if the kayaker swims in Velvet, just gone. There's no safety there. Like it makes me nervous.
That's a good point.
Grab a length.
Like getting all the way up on the back is hard with that narrow, long boat.
Yep. Yeah. Just things to think about though when you have safety. This guy's technically it's just two buddies boating. he's not a safety kayaker. He's just like the dude who went with him. But I mean, it's the Middle Fork of the Salmon. It gets hard because you don't want to invite bad boaters. This is where you need a team, right? Like, hey, we got a permit. We got to get a team together. You can't just throw it on Mountain Buzz and get randoms who are going to make the situation worse. But boating with 2 people is marginal. And so having a team, I think, is so big. I can, those are only on. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't pulled a swimmer to shore in a long time.
Aldo, totally agree that they have experience, but yeah, I think it's good to have a conversation about how they do it, how they've done it, and where they did. Because a lot of people, when they're learning to be beginner, it's like a big pool and it's flat water. They're not doing it through class 3 whitewater. They don't have the person on there trying to, like, on this section of river here. There's no eddies for a long time, and so it's a lot more challenging than the place when we're beginner kayakers pulling our friends to shore. Trying to help them out. And usually, I don't know about you guys, but when I was learning to kayak, it was just always a mess. Usually somebody else would swim in the process and it just get messy.
It evolves fast. That's where as soon as that guy's in the back of the kayak, I see the downhill spiral from the times it's happened before. And that's where I think having the discussion ahead of time about how, hey, if you fall out, here's how I'm going to save you. Here's what I want you to do is important for everybody. But I could have gone through so many of these. There's so many good videos just to comment on. But I'm gonna call it there. Maybe down the road we'll do more of them.
Sounds good.
And the last thing I'll do is go through the quiz. Aaron, you have time to go through the quiz?
Yeah, let's go through the quiz.
Hour and 16, because I think this is where we've been dying to argue with each other about this for a while.
Well, I'm more just wanting to clarify some things, Zach, and educate you on the ways of the world.
So just to give everybody a little bit of background on this quiz, Aaron and I took the IRF course in Mark Hurst a couple of years, and part of passing an IRF assessment is you have to pass a quiz of like raft theory. And I like getting 100%. Like when I take a test, I'm going for 100%. And so I don't like quizzes with gray area and questions that aren't very well formed. And so I told Mark, I'm going to write a better quiz. Aaron, I already know what you're going to say.
Oh, man, I'm going to better than Zach's.
No, hold on. It wasn't Mark's. No, false. It wasn't Mark's quiz. It was the IRF quiz.
Well, this quiz has got so much big ambiguity.
No, I don't think so. That's what we're going to get into. But so let me tell my story first before you just butt in. So I thought I can do better than this, which is usually like the beginning of a disaster, right? Like I can do better than this. It's really hard to write a quiz. It's hard to do. It's hard to come up with good questions that are challenging, but not crazy. It's very, very difficult. And I've put different versions of this quiz out to friends and I made it available online to get feedback on. And so I'm constantly refining it. And part of the process of sharing this with Aaron previously and everybody today is to get feedback so I can remove the gray area. Because I want to make the ultimate IRF quiz for our IRF classes. And just the last piece of context is this is designed for professional river guides. This isn't a private boater quiz, although some of it applies. This is designed for professional river guides. And the intention is just to make sure they have a certain level of knowledge, right? Like a person off the street has 0 chances of passing this. Like the average 2nd or 3rd year guide should be able to pass this based on their experience and knowledge. And some of the questions should cause conversation that creates more learning down the road. So this is part an assessment and part of opportunity to have discussions which create more learning. Don't look at me like that, Aaron.
When you say that second part, that means ambiguity, because that's where the conversation's
not ambiguity, maybe difficultness. I think difficultness. I'm gonna tell you the one. We'll get to some of these questions in a second. Got 13 right. I've never been kayaking or rafting boat Sunday. He got 13 right. He did nothing. Well, I mean, there's 31 questions, so the odds are you're probably going to get, a quarter of them right. So, and if you know something, you'll get some of them right. So, basic common knowledge.
Let's get started on this thing. Let's go.
All right. So the first one is proper boat spacing is maintained by. And if people want to comment their answer is cool, do it, or just that it's fun too.
I mean, this one. I like this question. I think it's a great question. Yeah, each individual working with the boat in front and behind them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Pretty easy.
Yeah. And I think there's other good points in there. Like that one would create some good conversation about boat order should be the first priority. It's discussing like that would be a good conversational question to discuss afterwards as you go through and just talk about the different answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, and that's up and then on purpose. Like boat order is not the first priority. I'd say they're both important priorities, right? But I wouldn't say the boat order is ever the first priority. So that made it hard.
And I think it is given answers given by a maintainer.
Yeah.
But in some ways, a good quiz also teaches people. So like it doesn't have to be.
That's my point. That's what point number 2 is, that there's like learning to become from the quiz.
Yeah, totally.
So if you didn't know that was important, you figured it out by answering the question. You're like, oh yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, a good time to deploy a throwback from a raft.
I think the last one, right? Never, unless a high probability you are saving them from severe injury or death. Like, that's like, I still worry about people being told that, like they're gonna throw their legs when it's not saving them from severe injury or death, and they're causing more problems. But
yeah, I mean, I really want the answer to be never, but it's never. But there's the high probability, not just like they might, like, hey, you're creating an issue. A lot of people miss this one. What's the answer?
You need one pulley.
Yeah, and there's a key to this: how many pulleys to minimize friction? Because you don't need one pulley for 2-to-1 mechanical advantage, but you need one to minimize friction. I thought about that a lot, right? Because it could just be how many pulleys you need to do a 2-to-1. That's ambiguous because it could be 0, right?
I know. This question is this is one I'm not as big a fan of, but
why?
Because I don't like ones that get too much into terminology and verbiage, and I like to try to minimize that. And I'd rather stick with concepts that people make sure they have the right concepts. Like someone answering and not answering this question right, does it really matter? Does that mean they can or cannot set up a 3-to-1 system?
It means they have some knowledge.
It means they don't understand. It means they don't understand what you're saying. But I'd rather have questions about how do you get hurt when using a mechanical advantage system? I think those are way more useful questions. It's where are the places people can get hurt with when using mechanical advantage system? What can break or something like that, like some safety thing. This isn't really safety. So this one's
pretty cut and dry though. This one's very cut and dry. There's an answer.
It is.
And so there's some of all, you either know or you don't. And so Tim, I'm excited to see what you think. Tim's an educator and is working on his PhD in education. So I'm excited to see what you think of it, Tim. I don't know what D means. 0. Really bum. You're on my case today. To minimize friction, you need a pulley. Go back from a raft. You're gonna. I could, throw it to shore. Do you have somebody standing on shore?
Oh man, I've seen people do that, Nick. It's messy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some of that, but I'd rather see one go from shore to the raft than from the raft to shore, I would say.
It's still though, it's so much force that it's just gonna pull out of people's hands and a rope burns, and there's a rope in the water.
But you, Zach, you've done it before where you do certain pull-ins where you undo your bow line as you pull in and you toss it to someone on shore. I've done that places.
I've done it a couple times. Yeah, no,
that's that's the equivalent of what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a unique, it's a situation. Like when I first started running sweep, there's certain eddies on the middle fork that I was really worried about. And so I'd have somebody on shore. As I'm coming by, I quickly drop the sweep arm, throw the bag to them, and then they swing me into the eddy. They wrap it around a tree. So I can see that.
And so I think that's what he's kind of referred to. So I say, Nick, that is a place. But once again, a lot of pause about throwing really, there's no better options. Are you sure there's no better options? Are you really sure there's no better options?
I think the way to edit this question is, when's a good time to deploy a throw bag towards a swimmer? Right? When, see what I'm saying? When's the best time to because there's been a good number of fatalities from people caught up in throwbacks, not from rafts.
I think that question, I like that question actually, Zach. That's one I think is pretty good.
Gotcha. You got to explain. Gotcha to me.
No, he understands what you're saying now.
Oh yeah, okay, got it.
With the pulleys.
Yeah, I got it. When you see if it's throw bag, you should wrap the rope around your.
I love this question.
Me too.
It's a great question. No, it's a perfect question. This is a good one. It's a really good safety one. It's just
I just like it because
Yeah.
I think the answer any of the above will get the job done makes me laugh every time I read it. Cool. And it's
Yeah.
obviously never wrap rope around any body part. After your raft flips, you should first consider your personal safety, and then this one's a little controversial, maybe.
I think this one's a little tricky, but I think, yeah, I think, yeah, get on upside down raft and get, and then count your passengers. I'm not that big of a fan of the counting passengers part of it, but yeah, that's your best option of these.
And count your, it says county. I got to fix that typo. Hold on to your raft and count. Oh, get on the upside down and catch your passengers. Yeah, I mean, that's just the IRF standard. So this is where we kind of get into a little bit of interesting discussion because, I don't always agree with the IRF stuff, although I'll teach that because I'm teaching an IRF course, right? So in this case, I understand teaching count your passengers because it has to be taught. And I think the best way to teach it is actually to make people jump on the raft and then count.
Yeah.
Because in the real world, they may just jump on the raft and flip the boat, but everybody else knows the importance of counting. So it's the best way to, I think it's good because it's a great teaching methodology to make sure counting happens. But when I'm guiding, I don't see the value in counting them on the upside down boat because I can't do anything about it. Right. The other boats can. So I feel like it's the best way to teach the importance of that. And so I like that answer. And I think it's a good practice to teach that when people flip,
totally.
but practically it doesn't make a lot of sense. I get that. Yeah. I mean, a short answer question. Sure. Administering that is a lot of work and I'm not going to grade. I don't want to grade tests anymore. But yeah, I mean, a multiple choice, a short answer question would, I mean, if write an essay, hey, ideally IRF candidates write an essay about guiding and safety and, whatever, but we don't want to grade essays.
And then, but the multiple choice has its place and it works pretty nice.
Yeah, no, it is hard. That's why I'm not just like doing it and taking 10 people, having 10 people take it a year. I'm doing it and just running it through the filters, right? I'm just like, hey guys, pick me apart.
I don't know about this, just that thing of whitewater.
Only in Montana. Only in Montana.
Yeah. Any situation that's scary, just when you say that, like I would say
there's a lot of stuff you guys do in Montana that we don't do everywhere else because there's been accidents. So I'm gonna claim you can't do. I'm gonna, in my opinion, based on my experience and knowledge, I'm gonna tell you not to throw a back from a raft unless it's absolutely necessary.
He's got it. Yeah.
If you can't get to them by paddling, don't run a single boat trip at high water.
Yeah.
Like, don't let that happen. And so I've talked to Brett a little bit about this. They have massive boat spacing just to make their photos come out better. Right. Well, what's more important, safety or the photos? Like, I think that's a decision.
Oh, photos. Come on, Zach. Photos every time.
Yeah.
It's like why you're out there for the photos.
So I'm going to claim boat spacing and safety kayakers and safety cats alleviate the need to throw a back from a raft.
Well,
and in case it's severe injury and death, if they're just out there floating in their life jacket, do you really need to get them? Like, let them float until you can deal with it. Right. If you are worried about severe injury or death, throw that throwback. Put their life in danger to save them. That's fine. But if they're just floating by and you can't get them in your raft, like, let them go.
Yeah,
and
I will say I think he has a point. There's certain places and I've heard of certain situations similar to what he's talking about, where someone gets sucked into an eddy on a high volume river and you're cruising by and I can bag them, get them back to but the problem is people think about going to it too often, too early when it's not the right answer. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid here. This sounds like one, they had a place where standard practice.
Had that one as standard practice when we had wind upstream at a place in the river, people fell out of the raft.
So the upstream wind blows the raft up. They're not able to get to them. They would throw back. And in a high volume river with no rocks around and no trees or anything like that, I don't really have that big of a problem with it. I still don't. I don't prefer it. I'm not gonna freak out about it. Like if you're low volume river up where Zach lives and you do that, I'd be like, dude, no. Oh, there you go.
And I'm going to make the case here. Don't do it. But if you break those rules for some reason know that you're breaking the rules and you be very careful here because you're adding a dangerous thing to the river to provide some sort of tool. So standard practice is don't do it unless you're saving somebody from severe injury or death. If it's windy or whatever you have, you know that you're doing something.
It better work. It better work.
Yep. Yeah, because you're putting yourself out there. Custy's holding on the raft, and if you have 5 customers on the raft, you can't paddle to the swimmer heading downstream. Yeah, stop having frequent dump trucks. Step 1. 2, don't let them hold on the raft. Get on that raft, flip back over, and get them back in.
Well, is it up right side up?
Pull them in the raft.
Yeah.
Don't let them hold on. Get them in that boat. Pull one.
And I'm going to say being
one
the
in.
lead.
Yep. Go ahead.
Pull the others out. Yeah, but being the lead raft also means you can't have swimmers. Like that's the whole point. High volume runs, lead raft, no swimmers or minimal.
Are there frequent dump trucks because you guys are making mistakes, or because that's what people want? That's what I'm curious about. Yeah, I didn't say it, but I hate the word "custies." Irks me. It's just I'm not a fan of that word. Yes, guests. I like that more. Just on our final wrap with that spacing. Yeah, I just think that needs to be addressed. By throwing them a throw bag, you can kill them. Just keep that in mind. It happens. Yep, I'm with you on that one. Yep. All right, let's keep going. I'm getting fired up. Max the Pack Raptors is probably stoked. Got through this one. So it's getting upside down, rafting, catch your passengers. And yeah, we did this. All right, Aaron, this is the one you're mad at me about. According to the current American Heart Association guidelines, a cycle of CPR is
none of the above.
I mean, I think it's
if you hadn't had none of the above, I would have hit the one that you wanted. Mm-hmm. But the problem is American Heart Association says chest compressions are at 100 compressions per minute now. They're not 120, not 80 to 100, 100. They switched up and they're like, hey, we're much more specific. This is vague. Be at 100. That's your goal.
I'm going to double check that one tonight. When I took my class last year, it was 100 to 120, but I will double check that and change it. So it's 30 chest compressions at 100 compressions per minute, followed by 2 rescue breaths. And Death Angle is an EMT, and he confirmed that on our pre-show. So you're probably right, and I'm probably wrong. So you end up, maybe you actually had a B instead of a C on this test, Aaron.
Yes.
All right. What's the correct sequence to deflate the tubes of older rafts?
Well, Zach, you know about blowing up rafts, so.
Ouch. Let's see. Let's get some questions. Isn't this? I don't know what that means. Heidi is a nurse, and she's saying 100 to 120. So we got a nurse versus a EMT. You get Zach versus Aaron. Somebody can get the bottom of this one. You're on mute, Aaron. Aaron, you're on mute.
Yeah. Is Heidi saying that's what this is American Heart Association. Let's be very specific. The American Heart Association. If you Google,
I specifically put that in there to make sure we had a source so you could be argued. I don't know what C is. It's
here. Can I share my screen for a second?
Do you know how? Hit the share screen.
All right, here we go. Share screen. Okay.
While Aaron figures out technology, I'll just talk about this one. With older rafts, and not new rafts necessarily, you probably should with new rafts. So older rafts, if you only do 1 or 2 valves at once, it can blow the baffles inside the boat. And so it's good best practice to do all the valves at once so that the boat deflates equally and saves these older baffles. And so the key word here is older rafts. New boats, you probably should again, but I don't know if you have to.
It's best. It's just best. It's best practices.
It's best practices. Yeah.
Here we go. There we go. Share my screen. You sharing my screen? What does it say? Approximately 100 beats, 100 per minute. This is the hajournals.org. Adult basic life supports.
Okay, but the thing is, this isn't. Is this the American Heart Association official thing? Like
Yeah,
latest thing?
AHA
2000
right here.
It says 2000. The article is from the year 2000, Aaron. Published 22 August 2000.
Oh, that's a good point. You have a good point there.
All right. I'm going to change it to say about 100 per minute. That's right. That's good enough to about 100 a minute. And I think that's adequate. Whoa, what'd you do there, champ?
There you go. So I might be wrong. Heidi might be right. Maybe they've changed it back again. I feel like they change it every couple of years too. That's the other problem with the CPR stuff.
Yeah, it's hard.
Any CPR question you have on there is going to be wrong next year because they're going to be like, oh, now you do this.
I know.
Like,
but Willie Bum Bum is right here. I actually was reading a scientific journal about this, trying to find the answer. And in a scientific journal, they actually said staying alive was what you did.
And staying alive is 100 beats per minute.
Whatever. All right, let's move on. I'll change. Should I change the question to say 30 and 2 to the beat of staying alive? Would that be a better answer?
Probably, yeah. That works out well. Or I mean, I think if you say around 100.
What if somebody doesn't?
If you just say around 100, if you just say around 100 per minute.
About 100, got it.
About 100, yeah. I think that's fine. Yeah.
All right, this one's controversial. Let me have it, Aaron.
Safety
How
talks.
long should safety talks be? Assuming you pull the how to paddle forward.
Now hold on. That's my problem with this question. This is the IRF standards, and the IRF standards require you to have the paddle talk as part of your safety talk, so you cannot pull it out. So therefore,
where did you read that?
I had this longest conversation with Mark about it because I like to do them separate, and Mark's like, no, it's part of the safety talk. Because I was like, oh, I do it separate. So I had to do it part of my safety talk during the IRF thing, which annoyed me because I never do. And I didn't think maybe it's changed. Maybe it's
I think that's Mark's opinion. That was Mark's opinion 2 years ago. I don't think that's IRF standard. Mark's opinion, Mark and IRF are two different things. There's nowhere in IRF that says they have to be separate, I don't think.
Is there anywhere in the IRF that gives an actual time that it's supposed to take?
This is a made-up question.
But then so this isn't to IRF standards. You said this is to IRF standards.
It's trying to be to, but there's not a standard for how long they should take. So this is more of just like a best practice, like the same thing with the pumping the boats up at the same or releasing the valves at the same time. There's no IRF standard for that. That's just general knowledge.
Yeah, but that's general knowledge. But this is more referring to IRF stuff. This is IRF information here. And if you want to make, then here's a difference. I feel like if you want to make a test like an IRF test, you shouldn't have the question about old boats and deflating tubes at the same time.
Aaron, the goal are two
because
things.
One time you blew up valves when you were like a first-year guide.
I'm not allowed to? No, it wasn't from that. It was because I put a boat in the water and then shock of the water to it. Yeah. Nothing to do with it. So there's like this is doing two things. It's testing general knowledge of rafting and guiding and putting some questions where there's some learning. People just learned you should probably now release all the valves at the same time. If some dude has a SOTAR who's never had to do it, now I was like, man, that's good to know. Like somebody just learned that here. Please, somebody say I learned that here. And now when they go use some 30-year-old Avon, they're like, oh, I should not just relieve one valve because I'll blow a baffle. So same thing here. Like this is going to create discussions, and people are going to have problems with this. But let's just assume we pull out the how to paddle talk, the forward paddle, back paddle, right turn, left turn, whatever you want to talk to people.
Yeah.
How long should a standard safety talk be for a class 3?
15 minutes. The answer? 15 minutes. Less than 15 minutes.
With these options, which option is that?
15 minutes. I don't know. I guess 11 minutes. I guess 11 minutes and 43 seconds. Which is the right answer, which is a lame answer.
That's an exact amount of time. Your answer is about 10 minutes or about 20 minutes. So you have a 50% chance of getting it right based on which about you choose.
Oh, please. That's so lame, Zach.
This
is exactly what you complain about by test. This is getting stuck in the minutia of the vocabulary and not in the concepts. And I really dislike these types. And I think most people dislike these types of gotcha problems. Which are
this is not a gotcha problem.
Yeah, because the 1143. That's an exact number.
Well, no. So here's the thing, Aaron. I think that I have this is my feeling, that I could be wrong. I feel like most safety talks are too long and they're not practiced. And I think by giving people a goal of 10 minutes, it's like you need to dial your shit in. Like I'm not giving you 20 minutes. If it takes you 15, cool. But I do not want, you don't have unlimited time. You need to get this stuff effectively done in a short amount of time.
So
And so that-
basically, so who decided that 10, whatever, that's the right amount? You know what Cornell University says is the right amount of time for a short talk?
Cornell? Who
Yeah,
listens to Cornell?
Cornell University. Let's
What are
at
you,
least
Andy
use some
Bernard?
science. Let's use
Is this
some
Andy
research.
Bernard?
So
All right.
what it says, they're going to say it should be less than 20 minutes.
Cornell would say that.
Yeah, Cornell would say the short talk should be less than 20 minutes.
I agree. I say about 10 minutes. And the reason that I'm going to say 10 instead of 20 is because you also have to give the how to paddle talk. And so I'm going to tell you my answer is 10 minutes for this question. And we can argue about it better. Hold on. I'm going to get to it. Hold your horses. No, we're going to get your horses. The next question, which conditions can necessitate a more extensive safety talk? What's the answer to this?
Oh, all of the above.
Which takes your talk to 20 minutes. So if you're guiding class 2 river,
I'll go back to the other one. Go back to the other one. Go back to the other one then. Class 3 river.
Cool. Class 3 river. If you're guiding the South Fork of the American, Aaron, normal flows, I know you can give an adequate safety talk in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I know
it's adequate, but not outstanding.
An outstanding safety talk in 10 minutes. You may not have all of your jokes in there. I know you can do it. But if it's high water, it's a North Fork of the American, there's logs on the river, that's when you get more time to go to your 20 minutes. That's my point here. Like if Cornell says you have 20 minutes, well, you have 20 minutes to do the safety talk and the paddle talk.
I've seen 10 minute safety talks, and usually they're inadequate.
You haven't seen mine?
Yeah, I think I have.
Nope. Were you there for that?
Okay. Or you mean where you use superheroes and stuff like that? You talk about superheroes?
Yeah. I can still get the superheroes in there under 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, can you put one? Do you have a safety talk online on Gear Garage that I can watch?
I'm gonna do that.
I want to see a 10-minute safety talk.
I know. I've been asked to do this multiple times. It's very unnerving to put your safety talk online because you will get torn apart. So I'm gonna have to really practice mine before I do it.
10-minute one up just to show, to say, hey,
Aaron,
this isn't perfect, but this
I will.
show you can be done in 10 minutes.
You have to understand when you put a camera on yourself and start doing something, it's very hard to like not get nervous and be weird. So I'm planning to. I don't want to. And I only have 10 more minutes, so we got to power through this. I got to go here in a few minutes.
Okay, we got a lot of comments.
I want to power through the comments. Yes, compressions are a big deal. I was reading the other night about it's more than we used to think. So depth of compressions is important. Billy Bum, yes. Shorter the better. Boom. Deal with that.
And I agree in general. He's right. Shorter is better, but you need to cover stuff. And I've seen those lame safety talks where it's just like, the cool guy, like, oh yeah, you fall out, get your feet downstream. Okay, let's go. Great.
I mean, you have to cover everything, but you also need the quick safety talk. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you need to have that talk if you're in a hurry to put on. For some reason, like you're on the Tuolumne and oars is right there, and you're like, I got to get on the water before oars, wraps, and rock garden. You know what I'm talking about, Aaron.
So you're saying that your safety talk is getting cut short so you can get on the river more quickly because you're rushed.
Saying my safety talk
sound like a good decision.
I'm saying that my safety talk is practiced and rehearsed and dialed so I can do it in 10 minutes if I need to, and I'll cut out the Avengers jokes.
I want to see the 10-minute safety talk.
Okay, I'll work on it. But the other thing too is you also need that 40-minute talk. Like a boat, somebody popped a boat. You're like, we gotta patch this boat. Zach, I need you to entertain people for 40 minutes. You do need that 40-minute talk in your back pocket.
Zach, I think the problem is with the 10-minute safety talk is you don't provide enough pauses for people to ask questions.
Questions are separate.
No, that's I think a key part of it is you need to provide time for people to ask questions and to follow up and to make sure they understand.
I want to put up Willie Bumbum's well thought out comment that says you're wrong.
Willie Bum, show me your 5-minute safety talk.
Okay, death thing of whitewater. Yeah. You need to remove PFDs for CPR. Important point. Safety demonstration, awesome. I love it. Yep, I'm 100% in that. Yep. Back to safety talk conversation. Let's see a whiteboard bullet point outline. Google Mark Hurst safety talk, and he has some great blog posts that are really good. That's how I met him. I read that blog post and said, this guy's legit. You both make us Raptors look like idiots. Oh, what? I have no idea what that even means. Can you explain it to me, Aaron?
I don't know. Make you look like an idiot, Ty Coker. Yeah, well, sorry, man. I hope that's a joke. If not, I'm really offended.
I feel like we look like idiots right now, talking to each other online and arguing about the minutia of a length of a safety talk.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I got to go. I got a meeting in a few minutes. The most important part is.
Oh man. See, I think. Great, Willie Bum Bum. Thank you. Good question. I think I'm going to say how to stay in the boat and what to do if you swim. I think the big part is keeping yourself in the boat. If you stay in the boat, you're gonna have a good time. So
this question's a trick question because almost everybody answers all the above are equally important. And I'm going to make the case they're all important, but they're not equally important. And that staying in the boat and what to do if you swim stands out above everything else. But a lot of people miss this one because they don't really read that equally part.
Yeah. No, I think that is the emphasis too, and at least in my safety talk. I agree with that one. Yeah.
But this one's pretty easy, right? If your client does continually swimming, which of the following is best to do? Lightly strap them to the raft.
It depends on why they're continually swimming.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I've had people, we had this guy in St. Wayne who was like falling out on purpose all the time and just being out of control. And in that case, we pulled over and the guy who's guiding his raft like ripped him a new one and said, hey, if you keep doing that, sometimes this boat we're walking out.
But generally, what's the answer here, Aaron?
I think, they reassure the client position close to you.
Yeah. And a controlled raps. This one's, I reworded for I have a different version of the quiz now that I've reworded some stuff. What's the answer here? None of the above, because tube deflation first. Aaron, you're on pause.
Yeah,
you're on.
mute. Yeah. You made sure to cut it out so that wouldn't, tube deflation shouldn't be part of it.
The newer quiz I removed.
Oh, no, this is different.
This is a different quiz than you took. This is
not
different.
The quiz you took.
This one's
this is different. This is different, worded differently. Yeah.
I have different versions of the quiz I'm testing just to work on getting things better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what does strong arm pull mean?
Just pull on a rope. Or no, strong arm pull is just grab the boat and pull it.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I would say A. But I think the vector pulls are useless and super stupid.
Yeah. Okay, that's your opinion. I agree with your opinion, but I feel like generally people want people to do vector pulls before Z drags.
Yeah. I want to. Someone show me a video of a raft being pulled off by a vector pull. I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
I've never seen it. I don't think it's ever happened in eternity.
Even all the swiftwater rescue instructors are like, someday I'm going to teach you this thing. If you ever use it, send me a video so I can prove that it works. I've heard that from a few people. How unlock lose or appeal quickly. Never pass much and learn from exploring someone else's unexpectedly exciting day. I don't understand the context of that. Oh well. Who's the strongest Avenger?
Well, we know the right answer is Avengers is for nerds. That's obvious.
It's Thor. Watch Ragnarok.
Thor's not even. Hulk. No, I thought Hulk was the strongest.
Hulk is. Watch Ragnarok. And they talk about it when they're in the Quinjet, but we'll move on. That you don't get point. That's like a 0 point. So you don't get a point or lose a point for that one. It's just in there just because.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I can choose point values for things. In the event you're faced with a fin entrapment scenario that's life-threatening, what is your first priority?
Yeah, I like this one. Ensure that your victim is able to breathe.
And why is it not all of the above?
Because, well, first of all, what is your first priority? You can't have everything be your first priority to do them all at once. That doesn't work. This is
where people miss this because they don't read it and think about it. Like, I want to make sure people know, like, it's not all of these things. It's like being able to breathe is key here. Oh, here we go. Boom. Can you prove it?
A vector. Well, okay, it's a dory, first of all. So that's a whole different ball game. I don't know what to say about you, Nathan, running your dory. But, I mean, it's different than a raft. But that is cool that you used it. That's good to hear that it worked.
It works. I'm sure it works. I've used it before, actually, but not to do it.
I bet instead of that, though, you could probably just push it off because, like, you're just not getting that much force. So
one of my guides took a swiftwater rescue class last summer, and the instructor told them a vector provides 10-to-1 mechanical advantage. I was like, "Are you kidding me? What?" I was so frustrated.
I've had that problem before on them. Like being an engineering background, I've had some bad conversations with people just being awful with math. Yeah, and it's like no, that doesn't.
It's not math. It's just like knowing the topic. I mean, it's math. It's math. Those like not very many rescue instructors can do the math. It's just being uneducated on how that works. But anyway, where should the safety kit, gear, and first aid kit be located?
I actually like this one too. I like the it depends.
Yeah. There's not just one answer. I mean, generally in the US, we go in the last boat, but in Europe, they're going in lead boat. That's something I learned from Mark, because the lead boat's typically the best guide, and that person knows how to use the equipment. But I think it just depends on a lot of factors. You can't just say one thing. This is just a basic first aid question. I thought it'd be nice to throw just a basic first aid question in there. Shock. It's pretty easy. This one's controversial. Aaron, what's the answer?
The answer is initial steps for basic life support are circulation and early AED.
Okay. I don't know how to answer that.
So none of the above are correct here.
It's circulation.
I think you got to get rid of this none of the above option on certain ones when you want one of them to work. I think that's what's messing up. I would have chose D otherwise, but I was like, no, it's none of the above because you need the early AED, and Zach doesn't know what he's talking about. So I was really annoyed because the early AED, that's what they emphasize over and over and over again now. Is if somebody is in cardiac arrest, you need the early AED.
I hear you. Okay. Yeah. That's only for cardiac arrest. There's other reasons people need CPR. There's other things than just cardiac arrest. There's
early advanced care, like early
basic life support. I mean, my terminology might be bad here, but the one thing I want to point out that I learned was it's not airway breathing circulation anymore. It's circulation airway breathing. They've changed the order because circulation is super important. But if it's a drowning victim, we learned by talking to it on one of the Monday shows that rescue breaths are where it's at. If somebody's drowning, you want to get them rescue breaths immediately. And so I think there's some intricacies there. When ferrying across the river, what angle should your raft be to the current?
Depth angle?
No. I should put that in there. That's funny. It depends on the current of the raft. There's not always an answer. Yeah. The primary duty of the trip leader is
provide leadership for the guides and passengers. I like that. Yeah. I think that's a nice one. Yeah.
Which of the following is not a leave no trace principle?
I think this is a silly question.
I love this question.
This is so annoying. This is such a geek question that has nothing to do with rafting. Because it's all verbiage.
It does.
Like instead of using the crazy verbiage, just talking normal people.
Aaron, do you feel like guides should know the leave no trace principles?
Plan ahead and prepare. What the hell? What is that about leave no trace? Plan ahead and prepare. Sounds like the Boy Scout motto or something like that.
Aaron, you're going to get canceled here by the outdoor culture. You can't bag on LNT. Plan it.
I believe in it, but the terms, it just I don't think this is that instructive.
I think
the feedback is not helpful.
I think people should know generally what the leave no trace principles are. And so this is just a good reminder, hey, I should know what these things are. The book is open test, open internet. They can go Google it and they've learned something if they don't know it. They'll be like, wow, I never knew that. And they might go on the leave no trace site and watch a video. And I mean, if you don't get this
plan ahead and prepare, because that leaves no trace.
Yes, it does. Because if you bring the right stuff and plan, you aren't going to create some disaster. Right?
Let's move on. Let's move on from leave no trace. Right. Great. You'll leave no trace question. Great. Yeah, you're all about it. Nerd it up.
It should be I thought I knew where the first aid should be after these questions. Yeah, I mean, I think generally I like it in the back boat because the back boat can always catch up with everybody else. But I think there's exceptions. I think there's reasons why you might not. And I actually like a big first aid kit in the back boat and then small, very simple first aid kits everywhere with CPR masks. And now I'm carrying CPR shield in my PFD. So, but the big kit I would put in the back, but I think it depends. I think there's reasons why maybe you would put it in other boats. So I think it's not a cut and dry.
We used to run in our safety cat.
Yep. That thing of whitewater, I have 3 AEDs right there on the ground. I just bought for a trip, so we're gonna start carrying them starting this year.
So if you've got heart problems, go on Zach's trips.
What? That's weird. No, don't. Whatever. The proper paddle raft. Moving on. The proper paddle calf to turn the boat to the right is.
It's up to the guide, but it's nice to be consistent with other guides on the trip.
Yep. So if one guy does right turn and one does left turn right back or whatever, it's just nice everybody's doing the same thing, right? You don't have to, but it's nice, and it doesn't matter what you use for right turn. It's as long as
I'm gonna say it's really when you're working with a company. That's I feel like much more appropriate. Like if you're private boating, you're boating with different people over time. You can't change your commands. You're not going to remember them. You're going to train up your crew. But if you're all working for an outfitter, it's good if everyone has the same commands. If people have to switch boats during the day, everyone's going to be on the same page.
On a multi-day trip of guides switch using the paddle boat, it's like, hey, I'm going to reteach you how I do it. Denise, this is exactly how I feel. Small kids and boats, major and rescue in the last boat. But there are exceptions. And I think that's where the it depends comes in. 3 whistle blasts means... Aaron, you're on mute. I don't know what you're doing over there. Emergency. I'm going to move on. Assuming the throwback is not used for mechanical advantage, what's the best throwback rope?
Yeah, I like this one too. The longest rope you can accurately throw.
No, I like this one. I get that from Mark. I would have, before I met Mark, I would have said 75 feet of any 3/8 inch diameter rope, because that's the best rope I can throw. I can throw a 5/16 better, but like that's the rope for me. That's not the rope for everybody. And so I think that's important. The best rope you can throw well. PPE, Aaron, I'm ready for this one.
Yeah, right.
Brett, we have them now. We're going to have them on every trip from now on. But we only do multi-day, so we don't have, we don't have many trips at a time. So it's I know Aaron's already going to bug me because I'm going to say PFD, helmet, shoes, and appropriate clothing. And we don't always require helmets. So is this the IRF test, or is this the general test with general questions about general rafting? This is the IRF standard. I don't agree with it.
Now we're IRF standard. Before we weren't.
We're at the whole test. We're trying to run at the IRF standard. There's not an IRF standard for everything, but as much as I can, I want to adhere to what the IRF standards or best practices are. And according to the IRF, helmets are part of PPE. I don't think you always need helmets. That's just a personal opinion. But when I teach an IRF class in 2 weeks, I'm going to teach that guests wear helmets. I'm not going to enforce that on my trips, but that's a personal opinion. And we've already talked about helmets. I don't want to talk about helmets anymore on this show.
What about shoes?
Yeah, shoes too. You should wear shoes. Why you ask? It's on there.
But don't you wear sandals?
I wear shoes. Shoes, sandals, the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Shoes are better.
Yeah.
Shoe/sandals. That's a good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Cowtails attached to PFDs are important for. I'm going to claim for river guides, they're useless. All they do is they allow you to clip yourself onto a rescue line. But anytime you're clipping yourself on a rescue line, there's somebody there who can clip the rescue line into you. So I just don't see any value for river guides other than
when you're hanging out, you can just clip yourself to the boat, and so you can hang out and do something else. You don't have to worry about your boat drifting away.
Are you being sarcastic?
I've seen people use them for that.
Yeah, I think for safety kayaking, they're invaluable. I think for river guides, they're not useful. But if you're doing back and forth, switching day to day, maybe you have it. But I generally don't think river guides need them. That's an opinion. This one, the IRF might disagree with me on.
I'm going to say this too. I don't even think you need the rescue harness on your rafting vest. So there we go.
That's bold, Aaron. That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. When scouting, you should wear your PFD and bring a throw bag. So A and C. You okay with that one?
Yeah, well, I think if you're boating with Zach, you better always do it as quickly as possible. I think that's an important note for people who paddle with you in the future.
Private boating, yes. Commercial, I'm not going to do that. But if you're private boating with me, I don't want you to dilly-dally all day, like, and get a latte. Like, let's scout this rapid and run it or port.
Ooh, Willie Bum Bum's into cowtails too. Willie Bum
Of
Bum, do you
course
use
he
it? Do you have a cowtail on you
Yeah,
when
what
you're raft
what's it
guiding?
for here? What's it for here, Willie Bum Bum? Do you tie yourself to your boat so you don't swim too far? What's it for?
He clips in while he's kiting so he doesn't fall out of his boat.
Smart. What's the cowtail all about?
Yeah, let's go on the next one.
Oh, yeah, I gotta go soon. The best description of the clean land principle. It's C, avoid handles or ropes in your equipment or raft that can cause an entrapment hazard. What is the IRF symbol for I'm okay? Aaron, what is it? It's this.
No, the picture on the IRF website does this though.
The picture in the IRF river
website.
signals. Okay,
Yeah,
Google IRF river signal guide.
I sent you in an email. I sent you an email.
I didn't look. I didn't see the what you sent me because I'm not always looking at your thing. But there is a PDF that has all of the things.
Yep.
Oh, so there is an image on here. Communication signals for paddlers. Where
what?
That's not. But you know what? That's not the official IRF.
I know
signal.
it's not the official, but that's the problem with it. Is it's like they have stuff on the website that's wrong.
Okay, that's fine.
And actually, Mark mentioned that in his talk. He said it was wrong on there, so it's confusing, and that's why I don't like that question because it's like we got to get on. I
like this question because everybody's gonna miss it. There's so many easy questions. Everybody's gonna pass this quiz, right? Everybody's gonna miss it, but it educates them that the IRF signals are different than everybody's commonly used signals.
What's everyone's commonly used one?
Especially in the US. This is it in the US. But I just want people to know they're taking IRF. Of course, the IRF signals are different.
This is like international diving signal for this.
Aaron, I don't know if I will ever use it, but I think it's important if you take an IRF class, you understand there's a different set of signals. And this is the only way to communicate that easily. So everybody's going to miss it. Everybody's going to get pissed. Everybody's going to look it up and we'll move on. Standing waves form when?
Yeah, fast current hits slow current.
Yeah, but this one's hard.
But you know what though? But standing waves also form in other ways.
They do.
You have other standing waves.
Like are those waves listed?
What? Yeah. When there are underwater rocks.
When there's underwater rocks, it doesn't form because of the underwater rock. It forms because the water goes faster and then slows down.
Yeah, but the undercover rock also causes it in that spot.
The underwater rock causes the water
when
to
there
speed
are
up.
Underwater rocks, yes, that causes standing waves.
The rock doesn't. The faster water slowing down causes it.
But the rock causes the faster water that then slows down.
So it's a hard question.
It causes that too. So I think that one's a little. But anyways, let's look at some comments quickly.
Okay, I got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Bold indeed. What was that referring back to?
Sorry, Nathan. We don't know. We're moving.
No, you said something bold there, and that's what it was.
Oh yeah.
IRF RSP3 on that point. Yeah. Yep. And so, as I understand it, Haldor, the IRF signals are trying to be more in line with international search and rescue. That says how it's been explained to me. But I think just understanding that. I think the most important thing with signals is realizing the signals you learned as a guide are not the signals everybody else uses everywhere. And as long as you know that there might be miscommunication, that's an important detail people need to walk away from when they're guiding. In Colorado, this means speed up. The opposite of what it means everywhere else in the world. So understanding that there's different signals for things is important.
Wow, Willie Bone, that is amazing.
Sure. I swam a boat that flipped in Ruckatucky. I swam to a boat into the eddy. I've done that before too.
He swam a flip boat into an eddy above Chunder.
Oh wait, got it. I swam a flip boat
by clipping on. He clipped in his.
Isn't Chunder above? Hold on. Isn't Chunder above Ruckatucky? Chunder's the rapid just above Ruckatucky.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Zach. You're getting lost in the details. The point is, he used his cowtail to clip onto a boat and swim it to shore.
So that sounds dangerous. I don't want to clip myself to a boat. I've swum.
He can release it.
This is the eddy on. That's true. This is the eddy on River Right, like below the portage. And when boats get stuck over there, we used to just swim over there and we just push them. Like you don't need the cowtail to do that. You can literally, in that case, just push the boat out.
Yeah, but it's so much sicker to swim the boat with using your cowtail.
Yeah, but you,
Yeah, Nathan. Yeah, I got
Nathan.
you. Yeah, I
Nathan's
remember. Yeah, he had no rescue
Na-
vest. That's why he's talking
Nathan's a
about my
badass.
comment. He's talking about
Yeah, I
my
know.
comment about
He's agreeing with you. And Nathan's a badass. Like seal launching in Golden Gate, man. You got my respect. That was crazy. Cleavage, not chunder. Yep. Okay, got it. Cleavage is blood rocket Chucky. I always tap my head. Yep. We do too. What's the boat of Packraft? That's funny. Let's finish this. The primary role of a safety spacing between boats should generally be. This one's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, but I would even say, I think that's a good way to say it. I like the way you say close enough to quickly rescue swimmers from other boats, but far enough to avoid collisions. I'd just say as quick as possible, as close as possible, where you aren't going to collide.
Which is what I said.
Yeah, but you said close enough to quickly rescue swimmers.
No,
yeah, pretty much the same.
Primary role of a safety kayaker.
Drink your beer.
No. This is my strong opinion about safety kayakers. The whole point of a safety kayaker is that if swimmers get past the lead boat, it's a tool to rescue swimmers past the lead boat. Boats should be self-contained and looking out for each other. But if you make a mistake and one boat passes the lead boat, the safety kayaker, that is their job, is to get swimmers ahead of they can do a lot of other stuff. They can swim coach, they can do flips, they can entertain people, they can help with things, but the primary role is downstream safety.
Unless you're using the safety cat instead.
Peter, I don't know what you're referring to. Going back.
Jane, he's talking about this. No, Peter, just make sure you have a common understanding with the people you're on the water with. And everyone understands this too.
I do not use the IRF signals ever. But I teach them when I'm teaching an IRF course. And it's good to know there's different signals. All right. I support us give us some private boating. I've used them several times, but can't think of it's interesting. Unfortunately, we have to end the show here. I love talking about safety vests another time. Aaron, you want to close this bad boy down? I got to get going.
Oh, God, yeah, we got to get going here. Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in and staying for all 2 hours of this show. My goodness. Wow. If you haven't done it, hit that like button, man. You must like us if you're here. You've probably already done it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and always get those notifications. Hit the bell. Zach, a fun episode. Thanks for bringing out that video. You guys, thanks for all your content and all your comments and sticking with us till the end. Do you have a show on Monday, Zach?
Probably not. We'll see.
Okay. And like as Zach says, we're 12:30 p.m. every Friday Pacific Standard Time. So until next week, have a great weekend.
Thanks, Aaron.